Podcast Charge!
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 126 of LostinTranslationmon. I'm May,
And I'm Jay.
and this time we watched The Beginning of the End.
Or Chase Creator, the operation of Digimon Extermination begins! Exclamation point.
So we're still doing the mispronouncing? Is that this
If
is
it's
still a
making
thing?
you upset, then yes.
And the second episode we watched this week is called Digivice Meltdown.
Or Evulsion the Impossible, Downbreak Digivice's Thee.
What? I had a moment of like, that's not what the episode's called. I'm like, oh no, we're just jumbling up words. Alright.
This was worth it. This was all worth it now.
For DigiNews this week, first up, we had some new pendulums, which were sort of like hinted at a week and a half ago, I believe, with a tweet on Twitter, which was Hakamon and something going past, like very fast past his face. And the text read something along the lines of like, something's coming.
Atmon movie number 1.
I wish. No, it's Hakamon from Adventure.
Oh, what?
Hakamon with a scarf.
That was not clear.
Yeah. Well, he was on the Digimon 20th VPEDs. And it's interesting that Jay thinks of Hakamon as in Hakamon from Atmon.
The Good Show. Also, the thing that I've seen Hackmon in way more.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't that be the thing I think of
And
him
the thing
for? It's the same word.
The thing that sticks... Well, it's actually Hakamon?
Yeah, I know, which is
Yeah.
not how you pronounced it.
Yeah.
I think I would have picked it up if you pronounced it that way.
Well, I believe... he's actually written as Hakumon. Both are written as Hakumon, but Hakamon from Adventure is based on Huckleberry Finn.
Why?
He's an adventurer with a scarf. I don't know.
But I don't even think...
No one
Huckleberry
knows
Finn
it's a
has
theory.
one.
Anyway, so... And then we found out in V-Jump, which was released about a week ago, or spoiled about a week ago, is that there were some shadows of some things that look like the Pendulum series. So we may be possibly getting a 20th anniversary version of the Digimon Pendulums, which is pretty
I
exciting.
thought that was confirmed already.
It's more or less confirmed. We got the silhouettes, which, you know, they look like pendulums. Are they bringing back the original pendulums? Probably not. They're going to be bringing back the 20th version of them, which probably has like two versions, different colors. One version has something, another version has something else, and they have all the versions of the original pendulums on
That's
them.
going to be an
same as the
awesome
20th.
$900 investment.
What do you mean?
Okay, $800.
I think it'd be the same price as the original, the Digimon 20th versions, which was...
$400.
No, Jay, you don't know what the price of things are.
I don't, you're right.
But yeah, so that's exciting. I will be getting those because that's exciting and because I'm terrible. And another thing that was spoken about in the latest V-Jump was that there's going to be a Cyber Sleuth one-shot manga in the January issue, which comes out, I believe, next month in November.
If it's one shot, that means it's short, which means it's probably for the people who've already played and finished the game.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't believe it's said. It might have been said, but my Japanese is not good. And the last bit of DigiNews is that the Gem Siblings set is up to pre-order. So this is the Yagami siblings. So that's Taichi and Hikari, and Takaru and Yamato. So the Ishida siblings.
Well,
Or the
Mimi
Ishida
and her brother.
and her dog
You don't need to
and her
bring the
cat that she has. Thanks, Dob.
dog. Also, we've seen Joe's brother, so why isn't he there?
Joe's brothers in the original.
We've seen at least one brother,
Because I think it's the siblings that are actually... Hey, what about Jun and Daisuke?
obviously.
Or Miyako and her, like, 10 siblings.
Yeah, all of which were so important and relevant to the storyline.
Apparently.
Right?
So that's up for pre-order on Nippon Yasan. And on to LostinNewsLatelymon, where, just quickly, I'm just saying that we're pausing the progress on the translation and video playthrough of the Japanese Digimon board game as we lost the milestone. So we're actually close again to meeting it again. Almost. I think we might be like $1 away from meeting the milestone again. But so thanks to our new Patreon supporters who almost put us back to meeting that milestone again, which is good because I would like to translate and work on that game because I don't believe a translation exists on the internet. So it'd be nice to be the first of something despite this game coming out like 18 years ago. It'd be exciting.
Good luck to you, because I'm not involved in that at all.
Well, you're in the video. You'd be in the video.
Doing what?
Playing the board game.
I thought you meant the translating part of it.
Oh no, the translating part again. Oh,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not doing that.
Sporky has said that she will help me.
Okay.
Because she is like she worked on the translation for the Digimon World PSP game, the
Fair enough.
fan translation. So she's quite knowledgeable in Japanese, and I'm not. So I think I will require her help quite a bit, and that's really nice. Another thing is, speaking of videos and stuff, we just bought the GoPro that we've been talking about buying for a while because of the Patreon milestone. So yeah, we have one now, and we'll be going to be having better videos now. And since we're going to MadFest in a week, excitement, yay. And I'm an idiot and I forgot to mention this last week, but Vmon Tamer on Twitter drew us some amazing art of a Lotmon riding an Airdramon.
Hell yeah.
And I sent this to Jay, and Jay said, that's a tattoo.
It really was.
And that's not often. Usually when Jay sees Digimon things, he's like, oh, next.
It was really bold.
Unless it's fan art for us. And then Jay was like, yeah, that's great.
I love those.
Jay's
I
favorite.
didn't like getting flicked in the head, but it was nice.
Jay's favorite ones are when Lotmon looks psychotic. Edgemon looks really scary, and I'm really happy because I'm a very scary Edgemon.
I'm sure you are. Yeah.
I'm very scary.
Definitely not
Very
a
scary.
Weird, cute little dragon thing that's before the Edgemon.
Dracomon.
Yeah, that one.
Well, actually, canonically, Dracomon doesn't evolve to Edgemon.
Yeah, but it should.
Mine
obviously. Look at its head.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's blue and cute. It's me. I'm very blue.
Da-ba-dee-da-ba-die.
And again, of course, we're doing more blog posts, and now that we have a good camera and I won't be using my phone, hopefully we'll just keep on doing more. So we're trying to put out a few every week, and these posts do actually take up time when I take photos and actually go through writing them and make sure they actually make sense and they're not just gibberish.
Wait, you're telling me that doing things takes time?
Yeah, they actually do take me time, so please read them. Please.
Amazing.
Please read them, please. I don't like to beg, but please read them. And we were on Going Digital a few months ago, and this was back when Jay had gastro and I was just coming down like off the flu, so I had no voice.
What a good time for everyone.
So that was it, and I think it was, and Stevie from the Modcast was also on it, and they were very tired because I feel like it was a strange hour for them. So yeah, so what we talk about in this special is that we were covering the first 2 chapters of Try Abridged. So that's something that's exciting, but both Jay and I were very sick, and Stevie was tired. And we were just explaining jokes, but I feel like
it was really
fun.
To watch.
It was also really fun to talk about.
It's the best part of Try.
Yeah.
Every funny thing from Try, I was like, yeah, I remember that. That was from the Abridged series. What about that was also the Abridged
Hey Matt,
series.
remember that time you went off and spoke to a tree?
Ooh.
It's my nerd, but yeah, so listen to that because it's great and
I feel a nerd hug coming on.
And the people at Going Digital are our friends and they're great. So please listen. And also please apologies please for my voice because it was back when I had no voice.
Forgiveness, please.
And Jay had just gotten over gastro. So
I was dying. Like I'm dying now, but in a different way.
Yeah. And that was 24 hours after your gastro. So that was it was not good for either of us, but I feel like it was still a fun enough time, and Going Digital and Stevie both carried us through being awful and unwell. So yeah, and speaking of being on podcasts, I'm going to be on the With the World podcast Sunday 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Saving Time, which is the normal time to usual. It's just that we've had Daylight Saving Time and now it's, instead of 7 a.m., it's now 8 a.m. And on to Obnoxious Synopsis. The first episode that we're watching this week is called The Beginning of the End, or Chase Kurata, the operation of Digimon extermination begins. What do you think will happen in this episode?
Okay, so all the Digidestined have got their memories back, and they all know that his idea is genocide. At the same time, there's nobody who is around that, knows about it, who could stop it, so I guess they're thinking, you know what, if we can just beat Kurata to death with our fists, then obviously that will just solve all the problems. But too bad, there's all these Gizmon AT in the way, and then they fight a bunch of Gizmon, and they don't get Kurata, even though they try.
Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
Look, I've pretty much accepted that the plot has fallen apart, and I guess if that continues, I don't know, I'm not optimistic about it at all anymore.
So, do you think it'll be a good episode or not?
I really don't. I've sort of turned the corner on this show, and I'm not enthusiastic about going to the next episode, and I generally don't expect it to be a good one.
But you hope for it to be a good one, right?
Look, I always hope for anything I'm watching to be good, especially if I have to watch it.
I know, definitely.
But in this case, I just don't think that my default setting is that it's going to be good unless I start hearing interesting titles that might actually be reasonable.
So what rating do you think you'll give it?
I think it'll get a 5. I just think it's going to be lots of fighting robots.
Now, a 5 is better than the Frontier ratings, right?
Is it? Is mediocre in the middle not way worse than a straight 0 that's at least hilarious for how bad it is? I gotta say, in hindsight, seeing Lucemon blast the kids into space and it lands on a train is way more entertaining than the last couple episodes of Savers. Of Savers.
Okay, I kind of see a point there.
Because it's so stupid. It's worse. It's objectively worse.
I mean, we complained about Frontier a lot, but I feel like it was almost like to an enjoyable extent.
If I'm giving negative ones, there's got to be some entertainment value to it.
Right. It's kind of like The Room.
Yes, exactly.
But at least it's fine. Like in I mean, I'm enjoying Savers personally, but if
You
you're
enjoyed
not like...
Digimon in all... You enjoyed Frontier, and I couldn't explain why.
Good point.
What you enjoy is not a bar of what is not good. It just says it has Digimon in it.
Filler or not filler?
Well, it's not going to be, because there's plot things happening. But not much is going to go forward at all.
We haven't really had much filler this season yet.
It's just Digimon, the way they work things. Is, we said the 2 lines of plot. That's not filler, right?
Alright.
Remember that time when they were showing up with Akuto's parents? That wasn't filler, technically. But they never showed up again, and all they did was fight a house. So in hindsight, it kind of was filler.
Right.
But it wasn't, because in the next episode, Akuto was running away. So things moved. They just moved nowhere, right?
No, I see your point.
I would call that episode filler in hindsight, even though doesn't follow the formula of if you removed it entirely, nothing would have changed. It's just that almost nothing would have changed, and that happens all the time.
I mean, I do see a point, because he does go back immediately to saying, I hate humans, I hate the humans.
I would be stunned if in the last episode, if you took pretty much 90% of the whole thing out, like all of the memory wiping stuff, and just at the beginning of this next episode, the kids have come back, and just now and things are going down, whether the story would be different at all in any way. I'm sure it wouldn't be.
Right. And then the second episode that we're watching this week is called Digivice Meltdown, or Evolution is Impossible, the Digivices Breakdown.
Did you say impossible?
Impossible.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
It is impossible.
So I guess this is going to be interesting in the sense that, look, their Digivices are DATS objects, so it's possible that if they are fired or if anything's going on, then they can have the Digivices taken away from them or deauthorized in some way.
Right.
I don't think they're going to go there. I think they're going to be like, the Gizmon shot my Digivice and now it's broken. Oh no. Which is the way worse version of this story. So yeah, their Digivices are going to break, I guess. And that will be probably the end of the episode. So it's not the actual ramifications of that won't really be touched on. It'll probably be a cliffhanger. Like, what do we do now?
So you think that despite the episode being called Digivice is broken, evolution's impossible, you think it's going to happen at the end of the episode?
Hey, question for you, just
Yeah?
as a counter question before I answer yours.
Yeah.
What was Kazu's battle all about anyway?
Kazu's battle with not having a Digimon.
Yeah, so
Resolved. He has a
it was in
Digimon
the
now.
title, right? But it wasn't important at all, or it didn't take up very much time. That happens all the time. Like, sometimes they're just misleading. And I can't imagine that, like, the show opens and then that immediately happens. Because it's such a dramatic thing, and the pattern of the way Digimon works is they do their big dramatic thing right at the end. Like, whenever the last evolution happens, the last evolution is always at the end of an episode. Dukemon was like that. Dukemon was like, right at the end, go. Pale Dramon was like that. Right at the end of the episode, oh, look at this cool thing that just happened.
So was Yatagaramon.
Yeah, I guess.
That was in the last 5 minutes.
I would describe that one a little bit different because it was 5 minutes, not 1 minute. And that was because there was no story related to how... like, Falcomon doesn't get a story, right? Falcomon's just around while Ikuto has a story. And so the evolution there had nothing to do with their relationship or anything to do with what Falcomon was doing. In fact, I don't think Falcomon was in the conversations that were important. It was just Ikuto. So there was no dramatic resonance of having it happen any earlier.
Right. Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
Yeah. If it's another 90% filler, nothing happens until, oh my god, right at the end, something happened. That means that you have to watch the whole episode. But I bet if we edited this down to 5 minutes, you'd lose nothing.
So you're basically saying you take this chunk that you're guessing about the Digivices just breaking or something.
No, I think the Digivice breaking is the only interesting thing that will happen. And everything before that will be a waste of time.
Right. Do you think it'll be a good episode?
No, because I think it could be good, and I don't trust that they will do it well.
Right. What rating?
Also a 5.
Okay, so 2 5s isn't too bad.
No, that's actually quite bad.
Yeah, no, but it's better than, 2 4s.
It's the lower half of it's the lower 50%.
Okay.
6 is the other side of this coin, which is also not very good, but at least it's on the redeemable side.
Filler or not filler?
Mostly.
So you think mostly filler?
I think that now. I think that's what they do.
So it's like Schrodinger's filler in the Royal Knights arc of...
Schrodinger's
Frontier?
filler is a different thing. Schrodinger's filler is any one of these has to have happened, but if any of them has happened, none of the other ones needed to. Like, at least one of them couldn't be filler, is what I mean. Because they resulted in something really important, and the story of how that important thing happened is also important.
So, like, it's It's like crouching plot, hidden filler.
Look, you could put it that way if you just wanted to make a movie reference. You're allowed.
I just did.
No one's going to stop you, but I also wouldn't necessarily agree.
Right, well, those are your predictions. Any other additional things, like besides that you'll hate Kurata and you'll hate Savers and you'll not want to do
Kurata
it?
is just like the death of this show. Everything is... You know what? And I guess they signaled it right from the start when he was sitting in the room with everyone and no one knew he was there. And they said... And then he goes, "Hi, everyone." They go, "Whoa! How did you get here?" Like, that's just immediately, oh, this isn't going to be written well, is it?
I mean, your good buddy Yggdrasil's there.
Oh, and that's... Yeah, that's going to work out well, I'm sure. There's no way that could be badly done. They've never badly done that before.
He wasn't in Frontier, was he?
No.
No, he was in X Evolution, that's right.
I would have noticed if it was in Frontier.
Yeah. Alright, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Alright, well, on to the show.
All right.
This week, we will be covering both episodes as one episode. And for once, this was actually Jay's executive decision. So I actually give Jay some power over this podcast sometimes, occasionally.
Most of the time, it's like, "You think these are one episode?" I go, "I guess." And you're like, "Great, let's do it that way."
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, when I feel like it seems like it leads directly into it, we decide that it was best for it to be one episode because it is effectively happening in the same day. And that makes sense. Though I think like this has been the longest day in all of Digimon, except for obviously Adventure. Maybe
August 1st.
The longest day in all of Digimon Savers. Because I feel like this one day has been over a couple of episodes now.
When did this day start?
Well, I don't think they went to sleep when they had their memories wiped. They just woke up in a park and went to school. So I feel like that was the morning.
There could have been any amount of time between those, actually.
I think they might have stayed overnight in the digital world that night.
No, honestly, it could be any amount of time between when they got their memory wiped.
It could have been a time skip,
It wasn't indicated, but at least that was an opportunity for people to go to sleep.
No,
because
I think there's
Master changed clothes.
I remember 1 week later, I think. Maybe.
I don't remember it saying that, because it never says that.
I don't know. At one point, they said that.
We were asking for it to tell us, like, how much earlier things were.
Yeah, I would have liked to know how long the Digimon were, like, separated and in that box.
So at the very least, it was since the memory wipes.
Yes. The first episode starts off with...
Game is over.
The last episode ending, and the DATS building is blowing up. As I mentioned the last episode, which I said, hey, the DATS building blew up, and you said, no, it didn't.
Oh, well, no, I knew a building blew up, but in my head, DATS building doesn't look like this.
Yeah,
it looks like the docks, and there's like a hidden warehouse or something. No, it's just a big office.
Yeah, it's a big office. We've seen the outside of DATS before. It's a big office, and guess what?
It doesn't strike me as anything.
Well, now, guess what? You know what it is now? Nothing. It blew up.
So we got the game is over in Japanese, which is fine.
Well, in English.
No, in the Japanese version, that's what he says.
He says it in English, yes.
And then in English, he says, "I have destroyed DATS headquarters and everything it stands for."
He says, okay, first of all, he says game over in both versions.
Yeah, but this is the important part.
Yeah, this is the important part.
I've destroyed it and everything it stands for. May, quick question: what does DATS stand for? Not the
Data
not the acronym. Not the acronym. What do? They control Digimon and they fight them. So if he destroys what they stand for, you don't fight Digimon anymore.
I think what he means is that what DAT stands for is that they have Digimon as partners and they work alongside Digimon, and he doesn't like that.
Is that why they killed that big chicken that was fighting McDonald's?
They didn't kill him. Okay, they killed him.
Yes, they did.
They didn't kill him.
As far as they are aware, they did the most killing they could do to this thing.
Well, they didn't send him to where did Myotismon send Pumpmon and Gotsumon in the dub? Like he's jail in the digital world, which like he clearly killed them.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But like in the English, they've been as like violent as possible towards Digimon as they could be, and that's not good. And like now that's done. We've destroyed what they stand for. No more being violent to Digimon. That's the end of that. Yep, the story's over. It just seems like a really weird thing for him to say. Also, I have a bit of a problem with this as a tactic that he's had here. How can he think that blowing up a government building won't, like, draw any sort of questions?
Look, I don't think Kurata cares at this point. I don't think Kurata is...
He's answerable to the rest of the government.
He's not necessarily the sanest person that we've dealt with in Digimon Savers.
I mean, I get that, but we've been over this every week. He cannot be both an amazing mastermind who manages to get every bit of his plan in place, like a perfect puzzle.
Look.
And a madman who's wild and does crazy things.
Jathy, there is a song by Panic at the Disco called Crazy Equals Genius. So, like, checkmate. He is crazy and he's genius, and crazy equals genius. Okay. I really like Panic at the Disco.
Okay, he could be crazy and a science genius, but that doesn't make him charismatic or able to cover his tracks effectively, right? You can be smart at some things and bad at other things.
Panic at the
He
Jats
blew up a government building, then stepped out the front and yelled, "I blew up the building!"
Good point. Though, like, I don't know. I think it's to show that he is, like, a very much extremist person.
I understand the reason behind why they're showing everything. But the problem is that if you give it, like, another 2 seconds of thought, you go, wait a minute.
I don't think it's that, like, he said, I did this. He's proud of it. He's proud of his creation of the
And he's still part of the government. So in the next 2 minutes, the police should show up and be like, we're arresting you, obviously.
I know, but he has lots of guns and, like, Digimon that destroy people.
We don't know that those anti-Digimon guns do anything to people.
Okay, good point. But the point is, it's not that bad.
And also, like, they would take him off the Ministry of Confidentiality, and they would get rid of him because obviously he's a psychopath who blows up buildings. I guess they would never talk about Ikuto's parents again. And I still kind of feel like they're like, oh god, they exist. All right, we forgot. Because they're treating it in a way that, like, oh no, because they're actually they're not in jail, but they're in a hotel. But like, I just feel like they're never going to talk about this again. They're like, oh yeah, the building's not there, so we can't use the digital dive. No one's going to be like, oh, we're investigating how a building was entirely blown up.
Okay, you're right.
Was there a scheduled demolition? No. Because it had explosions. Demolitions aren't done with explosions. They're done with implosion.
Okay.
This show is bad now.
It's not bad.
You know how I know it's bad?
How?
It became Frontier.
What?
It becomes Frontier.
Yeah, it becomes better Frontier.
That's how you know it's bad. It's Frontier now.
Okay.
It's poison.
Besides the existence of the people who can become Digimon, how else is it Frontier?
The plot is falling apart.
Look, okay.
The bad guy's doing stupid stuff for no reason.
I think Frontier had a fine plot. You thought that Frontier's plot was messy from the start. So
yes, I did. You're right.
At least Savers. So in your view, Savers had more of a plot.
Yes, I agree.
For longer.
Savers is a better show, but it can still fall apart. It's allowed to get bad.
What will save us?
Something starting well does not mean it will continue well. Sorry. Okay. Something starting good does not mean it will continue good.
Why would you say good? First of all, you say schedule like an American, and now you say good instead of well. I just can't with you, Jathy.
I can't remember. I feel like I get yelled at in my old job about saying the word wrong. I think I used to say schedule, and then he's like, "No, it's schedule."
You still say schedule. It's schedule. In Australia, it's schedule.
Or maybe then in which case it was the other way around. Okay, whatever.
Okay, how do you say the army person that starts with L?
What, a colonel?
No, starts with L.
Oh, you mean a lieutenant?
Okay, I'm done now. How do you actually pronounce it?
A lieutenant. Not a lieutenant.
There's
no F in it.
It's a lieutenant.
Where's the F, mate?
In the Australian Army, it's a lieutenant.
It doesn't matter. Read the word.
The lieutenant looks at his schedule. Fight me.
With the colonel. So the colonel.
All right, well, we'll go back to our Digimon Sabs.
Hey, how do you say plant?
I speak the Queen's English.
Come on.
It's plant.
Oh, plant.
Shut up, it's
plant.
Well, at least I can...
I bet you think they're digital monsters.
No, I don't. It's digital monsters.
With the Queen's English.
I hate you so much. This has nothing to do with Digimon.
How about we go dance in English?
This has more to do with our pre-podcast segment than our actual Digimon segment, like Digimon discussion segment.
Learn to speak.
You learn to speak.
I do.
Okay,
fine.
What we can admit is neither of us speak Australian.
That's true.
Because we don't drop C-bombs every second sentence.
Could if I wanted to.
Yeah, but my mum would hate you.
That's alright.
She hates the word.
That's fair enough.
I use it.
Because she's a...
I'm trying to reclaim that word, so...
Because she's a 70s feminist, which is great, except that she didn't learn any of the modern stuff, so, like, she's really stuck back there still. So it's weird how she's, like, very progressive, but also quite backwards.
Yeah. We'll stop talking about that now, because that's what the pre-podcast discussion is for.
No, I like criticizing people. Let's continue.
So what I really like is that Kurata uses, like, English words. Like, he says, game is over, and see you again, and it's showtime. It's like his catchphrase. And he always says that in English. And in the English dub, he still says those things. But I think it's because in the English version, he is an English speaker saying those words, that they are less, like, is impactful the word? Effective?
So... So what are you saying this signifies?
I don't know, I feel like
Are you learning something about his character because of this?
he might actually be fluent in English.
So what?
And I feel like this may show that he has studied overseas or abroad, and because he's so smart. I think that's sort of like a slight thing on his character, that he's like quite smart and he uses other languages.
I mean, we know he's smart. He wears a lab coat everywhere.
Yes. And he's a lab coat. That means you can trust him. If he talks about smoking cigarettes, you better smoke a pack a day.
I mean, maybe it's a Japanese cultural
Like those
thing, about
1920s
speaking of
references?
English, but like, I'm not really picking
Are you saying
up.
that people who speak English are evil, Rowan?
Yes.
Good point.
Especially if they pronounce it as plant.
Go away! Masaru screams for Kurata, and then we see them at Masaru's house, and Sayuri is giving the DAS
Jam
members
donuts.
onigiris, and I'm really annoyed. You know what she calls the onigiri in the dub?
Nigiri.
Snacks.
They are, though.
She says, "Want some snacks?"
They are,
and like,
though.
something annoys me because they're not snacks. This is a
Oh,
meal.
they are.
This is a meal.
Nah,
Like,
they're snacks.
well, like an entree. in
When
the very
I eat
least.
them, they're snacks.
Okay, I would eat. No, but snacks are like crisps.
No, you can snack on anything. I have bread with Vegemite as a snack.
Yeah, you can also snack on pasta.
Yes. And you do that on
Yes.
raw pasta, you weirdo.
Yes, I'm not weird.
Everyone's sending mail about how weird May is for eating raw pasta. That should be the weekly poll this week. Is it okay to eat raw pasta? And it's going to be
It is.
100% no's.
It's okay to eat raw pasta.
100%
Why
no's.
does everyone hate me eating raw
You're
pasta?
so weird. Why don't you just go and eat some plastic? I don't know.
I think pasta's a little bit more edible.
No, you're right. It's hard cardboard. I forgot.
You mean hardboard?
I don't mean that.
And this reminds me of the part in 02 where they called onigiri brownies.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
that.
I'm always
Wasn't
fascinated by how like they westernized onigiri.
But wasn't that like it was just in a lunchbox, so you didn't see them?
No, they saw them. It was like, oh, look, my brownie.
Oh my god. Okay.
It was really bad. And it's so, like, I think, I remember being really mad about it in the time, but I always, like, I really do love what they try to, like, translate Japanese food as.
So the captain shows up, and is this weird to you at all?
Well, no, a bit before that. So everyone's feeling pretty helpless. And the Digimon pretty much always have hope, and that's just what the Digimon are there for. They're there for their boundless hope because they're all dogs. And
Only one of them is a dog, man. Pay
yes,
attention.
but they're all, like, emotionally dogs. It's great. They all decide that they have to go back to the Diddle world.
Sorry, one of them is a plant.
Shut up! And then there's like this sort of, and I really like this moment, and it actually shows, considering Sayuri is not a main character, it actually shows a bit of like character growth and character moment for her. Is that there's like this moment of like she like looks down and she has like the anime hair over the eyes, the frown, the looking down, like the eyes are in shadow because the hair's covering it.
And she's like, yeah, you go to the
And then
door,
she
that's
looks up
fine.
and she says, you really have to go. So it's like she has like this moment of like this doubt and like, I have to stop them. But then she realizes that they have to go. And there's like this, it's this subtle moment and this is an anime moment. This is a very, very anime moment. She like looks down, shadow over the eyes, frown, looks up, so you have to go. And then she's like smiling and she's like, well, if you have to go, good luck. And it's like this very, I know, it's a very nice moment considering she's not a main character, and it's giving a character who's not a main character quite a bit of time, and it's nice.
That would be more anime.
What?
She goes, if you have to go, then believe in your friends.
Oh my god. No, she gives him like this keepsake, but the keepsake ends up being like the key to all the problems or something. Like
That's not really a
to get
line
rid of the
she
problems.
would have said. But
I don't know. That's also I'm just saying that's also an anime thing. So she's not really happy and she tells them to be careful. And then they say how Kurata has destroyed their means of transportation, so they're not sure why. And then Satsuma comes in.
So question.
Yeah?
If I recall, he was in jail.
Yes.
In the DATS building.
But do you also recall that Kudamon said, I will get Satsuma, and he has the Digivice in his hand? Kudamon's gonna go do some stuff.
I did not remember that.
Yes.
So I guess that's possible.
Yeah, because the Digimon, guess what? Digimon are good. And we also know that Kudamon can destroy cars.
Yeah, he murders some people, doesn't
Yeah, but
he?
they're evil people, so it doesn't matter. Look,
That's not how that works.
in Savers, there are a lot of deaths.
Yeah, mostly with Digimon.
No, of the people in the buildings that they keep on blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that Terramon episode and Bormon episode where they were just blowing stuff
Remember
up?
last episode when they blew up a whole government building?
Yeah, look,
And only 3 people got out?
we're not going to say that they're only like, even though it feels like they're only like 10 people working at DATS, there are probably like, what, 50 people working there? That's a big building.
How many people, sorry?
Like
Did you say 50?
50 at least.
I think that's so like a 20-story building.
Yes, so 50 at least. They have doctors there.
I mean, technically, yes, at least 50. In the same way as a horde of ducks is at least 12.
Yeah, it's at least 5. My point is that I'm pretty sure that Savers has, even though they're not on so much on screen as they are like sort of there, I think Savers has the most amount of deaths of humans in all of Digimon, except for maybe Tamers when there was a big purple blob on the building.
I remember that.
That might have been more, maybe. Though Savers still has a lot of building and collateral damage and the such, the like.
Yeah, but Frontier had the most Digimon dying.
And Frontier had the most you not caring.
It's true, I really didn't.
So Satsuma shows up and he's like, that man is our last hope. And everyone's like, what man?
I really thought it was Masaru's dad.
Honestly, me too. And I've seen this before. I was like, oh yeah, probably.
It's such a weird anime thing to do. No one in their right mind would ever refer to someone when you're trying to like talk to people and inform them as, oh, we have to go find that guy. That's a weird thing to say. Just say his name.
Yeah, no one real talks like this.
Second of all, I assumed once we found out who he was talking about that you would get angry because, oh, it's that man. He's the one responsible, not his wife who is also a doctor.
Look, I'm very annoyed by this part, and I guess we'll get into this now. So they're talking about Ikuto's father, and it is very much like I always thought, hey, maybe it's the mum.
It is clearly implied that she was the assistant the whole time.
Yeah, I got the impression that he was the assistant, but apparently in this episode, it clearly just says she knows nothing. He's in charge of it. She doesn't mention anything about the gate or whether it's useful. All she says is, but my son, we can't let my son go. Oh, we have to let my son go? Okay. She doesn't...
She was only in the room, if the original thing was turned on, to like bring the child in.
But I feel like there was something that was implied from the original episode that she was in that implied that she was in charge of it, and I can't remember what.
I never got that once. All I remember is you saying, I like to think that she's in charge.
Maybe it was just that. And you know what? At least you can say that if it was the case of me just wanting her to be in charge, is that at least the writers aren't bad and inconsistent. Because if there was something that implied that she was in charge, the writers would be bad and inconsistent. And at least this way, they're not bad and inconsistent. Sexist, maybe. But I'm just saying I would have liked the woman to be in charge, the mum. She's just like, oh yeah, she was the boss. Or would have been great. They go, let's go see that man. And they say, okay, we have to know about the portal. And he says, I don't know anything. It's all my wives.
I mean, that'd be interesting. But the question that is, in the situation that we have, why was she wearing a lab coat in the flashback? And why was the child there?
Why they need a lab coat if they're like with a digital
they're
portal?
Engineers.
Yeah. Do engineers wear lab coats?
I don't think they do.
I feel like it's only when there's like chemicals or like biology stuff.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Yoshino, Masaru, and Toma sneak into a hotel dressed as workers, and they're looking very Team Rocket, if I might add.
A little bit.
Lalamon puts the guards to sleep, which 100% means that Lalamon is the most useful when she's putting people to sleep. I love that.
You saying that Masaru couldn't do it by punching?
Okay, but this way it makes her useful. Right?
Sure, okay.
So, Ikuto's parents are there, and Jay is happy because he has wanted the parents to be there the whole time.
I was really shocked. And I was like, wait, shouldn't they be in jail? And they go, yeah, this is basically jail, but nice jail.
Yeah, well, I guess because they couldn't put them in actual jail because they didn't want to explain what their crime was, maybe?
What do you mean? They were very straightforward about it.
They're in Dad's jail.
Well, no, they said it afterwards. The ministry must have wanted to use them.
Oh, yeah, also that, yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I guess that was never even... They never suggested that they were used for anything.
So you must be happy, right? They didn't just forget about them.
Yeah, I guess. The way that Ikuto thinks about them later and the whole flashbacks and everything makes me think the writers were like, oh god, remember those characters that we have? Crap.
Nah, I feel like they care.
I forgot about them.
Masaru was surprised, and Yoshino said that he came without knowing. And Masaru says, look, hey, I knew. And Lalamon says, he didn't know. It's this kind of cute moment of Masaru saying, yeah, I totally knew. I totally knew this whole time. Yep, me, I knew. Toma asked them to open the digital gate, and then the death member are escaping, and then 2 cars are chasing them. And then the 2 cars get blown up.
Everyone inside is definitely dead, right?
But they're bad guys, so it doesn't matter.
I wish they'd added a Wilhelm scream to it.
It would have fitted so well, you're 100% right. We see a Digimon devolve, and this was the culprit of blowing up the cars. And it's Kudamon! And we see 2 silhouettes watching.
Don't sound so excited for the murderer!
Look, Kudamon is an adorable little dog, snake, rat, puppet.
There is
ferret.
no guarantee
ferret, right?
that the people in those cars were bad people.
They were chasing them, and they got blown up by Kudamon.
They don't know. They're not evil people. They were told there are fugitives escaping jail. Go get them back. They could have just been police.
They probably had ejector seats, maybe.
In their regular cars with hard roofs that don't move?
Yes. They could have had forward ejector seats.
The captain just killed innocent people who were just doing their job.
Well, like, the captain didn't kill them. The ferret did.
Yeah, his weapon of choice.
You know, that little snake death ferret?
He told his death ferret to do it.
I would have a death ferret.
Also, it was a magical, like, griffin horse at the time.
Yeah. I always thought that it was a dog because I don't know mythology.
It's a Kirin.
I know it's a Kirin.
It's hilarious.
It's a beer. You know that the ferret that evolves and becomes the
I
beer.
love that they misspell it in the English.
Yeah, of course I would.
Because like it's obviously because neither of them use a K. I think I don't know what it is in Japanese.
Japanese, yeah, it's a K. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, in which case, why would they screw it up so bad?
It's Kirin, the beer.
I actually know it more as the mythological thing.
I know
magic.
I know it more as a beer because my dad.
There's a cycle of magic card, and they're all Kirin. I remember.
I know that Kikijiki is in that block.
Pepperhead Farm remembers.
Anyway, so yeah, Kudamon had become a beer, and we see the two silhouettes watching, probably after the Kudamon beer. In the dub, when we see Keenan and Falcomon sitting down, there's something that, like, I noticed that, I know, it just weirded me out a bit. I don't think we've ever heard Keenan refer to him as third person, but he does here because he says, well, that was Keenan, that is Keenan's real mother. And I don't feel like he's ever referred to him as third person. I'm not quite sure there, but
I feel like he does.
I know, it just felt weird.
Keenan is Digital Warrior or something.
No, it's me, Digital Warrior.
Oh, no, yeah, right, he uses his name.
Yeah, it's not Keenan, his name.
But that makes sense because you can't say it's me's mom.
Yeah, it's me, mum. Or
No, say that.
Okay, you're right.
It's me mum.
It's me mum.
Well, if they really want to make him sound like a savage, that's how you do it.
Yeah, make her a chav. Yeah, I just thought that was weird because I don't think we've ever heard him refer to himself in the third person. It's always been me, Digital Warrior.
I wonder if there's more possessors about that. Like, I'm sure he said like Keenan's parents at some point.
Well, he's never called them parents. He's like, no, Frigimon mum.
Fair enough.
Ikuto and his parents reunited, and his mother asks him to stop involving himself, and Ikuto says that he has to go to the digital world so he can save it. Yoshino says the digital gate is still at Ikuto's place, and it still works. And I just want to point out, why didn't they move it? I feel like, hey, we don't want people to be using this digital port illegally, so we should probably move it somewhere. Nah.
Let's leave it out in the country. And also, an additional point, it's in a building with the roof is all busted and open. So if it rained, wouldn't that have broken the machine?
We don't know how easy it breaks, but the bigger point is, what if someone just like stumbled across, found an open house, said, hey, that house looks like it's been blown up, let's explore it, found the portal, managed to turn it on, went to the digital world.
Why wouldn't the government, who is willing to arrest people and abduct them because of the machine, not take the machine?
I feel like I'm surprised that Kurata didn't destroy it, because Kurata knows where it is.
Yeah, and he can make his own portal, so why would he need it?
And he's destroyed all the other ones. Why would he?
The one other one.
The reason he didn't destroy this, I feel like, is because the plot needed them to use it.
That's exactly it.
And that's annoying. When I can say the only reason I can say that they did this thing is because of the plot, that means that it is not a smart decision that the writers have made.
When I don't even need to walk you back into it, you just been like, yeah, that one's pretty bad.
I know, it's because it's annoying. It's just like, can you explain why it was just there out of nowhere? Why couldn't they just say, oh yeah, it is in some underground bunker, and they find some way to get to the bunker because of their Digimon or Satsuma or something?
Wouldn't you have a question of when did you build this spare one in your free time in a hidden place away from the government?
I don't know, or something. Or maybe like have Ikuto's mum and dad working on their own time oscillation bomb or something.
Maybe they just don't blow up the DATS building. Wouldn't that make more sense?
Yeah, that too. But the point is, I feel like they could have gone through a few things and not made it so like, I don't know, just so strange.
Well, yeah. It would be nice if they wrote well, but obviously they're not very good at that anymore.
His father said that the portal is still not tested and he doesn't trust it. In the dub,
he's so clearly lying.
He says that he doesn't know how to open it. Then he says he wants to protect his son. And Masaru says that they just don't want to let him go. And then his mother yells, so what's wrong with that? In the dub, Marcus says, what about the Digimon and the digital world? And Kenan's mother says, I don't care about the digital world.
That's really fair. Neither would I.
Yeah, so it's this kind of change from like Masaru saying, look, you're just being selfish. You just don't want to let him go, and you're completely just thinking about yourself. And in the dub, it's just him saying, but what about the digital world? Which is a lot like a simpler statement. And yes, it's also saying, don't you care about these other beings? But it's not as, it's not as like
direct. It's
not as direct as saying, look, you just don't want to let your son go, you're being selfish. And that's a lot of what Masaru rants about in this season, is that he says, look, you're not being very good parents, you're being selfish. And it's why I like Masaru, and they kind of just removed that in the dub. I know, it's just something that I noticed.
I'm ranting at this show. Hey, you're not very good anime, you're just being selfish.
Ikuto says, but I was raised Digimon. And Ikuto's mother runs off because the sister starts crying. And his father follows.
Are you ready for the dad to be weirdly reasonable?
Yeah. All of a sudden they made the mum almost as unstable as the dad thought she was.
Whereas she was totally fine when we first met her. Whereas he was crazy and, like, acted totally irrationally, and now he's a big old wise man. What happened?
I feel like they've almost swapped places.
For the sake of the story.
Like, they could have gone and said how the father was actually the really distraught one, and he was distraught knowing that the son was alive, but wanted to play it off that it was the wife that would be that upset.
Because there's every way you could have had him, like, be really manic about, like, no, we can't even make it work, and blah, 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 and, like, be obstructive that way.
They could have swapped positions really easily in this and just said, okay, the dad runs off and he says, oh, I just don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose him again. And the mum is the voice of reason because she was very calm in the first episode that we saw them.
Yeah, but she doesn't get to have stuff.
I almost feel that this episode was meant to be written with the spaces swapped.
Oh, well.
From what we know about the characters, I just feel like they said, okay, and the mum's in charge, and it's a mum's portal, and look, I really want this to happen, okay? And the mum is reasonable, she's level-headed, and the dad storms off because he's crazy and he doesn't want to lose his son again. And it's really, in the end, it was all just the dad's weakness, and the mum was still not happy about losing her son, but she was getting over it, and she was growing as a person, and she was very smart. But I feel like they said, we can't have a woman in power.
That's
and
all
then,
right.
and then they
both get
swift
to
it.
suffer.
And I just feel like that's the impression I almost get from this part, is that they planned it one way and then decided they didn't want to have a woman to be in power in an episode. Because it is a shonen anime and it is aimed for boys. And that's just like, either way, it means the writers had a bad choice. Either way, it's bad writing. But I feel like if I'm right and there was an original way, if they left that in, that'd have been fine. It'd have been less annoying. Like, okay, the dad's all of a sudden a reasonable person. That's strange. So yeah, as we mentioned, the father runs off to talk to the mum and to confront her, and he says, look, maybe we're the ones that don't understand about him.
Look, which is a very reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, and it's like, if it was any other character, I'd say, yeah, well done. But because it's the dad who was so unreasonable in our introduction to him.
Only person who shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah, he's all of a sudden really... I don't know, it's just strange. And he says, look, we should understand that the bond between us will still remain, even when he goes, and he'll come back, and we'll just wish him luck.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you had time to get attached to him again, right? This is the first time you're seeing him since you guys went to jail.
I know, just imagine if it was the mum saying this instead. Doesn't that make more sense?
It would show that he was really wrong, rather than justifying him in hindsight.
Yeah, it also shows that the dad is potentially not particularly stable about the idea of losing his son. And it was all like him having his own emotions, and it wasn't so much about his wife. Then we see that Satsuma gets in a car crash because he's avoiding two people on the road, same silhouettes as before.
Also, he's fine. He rolls out of the car at high speed, and he's like, no, I'm good, don't worry about it.
So this man is built like a tank.
Apparently.
Yeah. So then we have them at Akuto's house, and Mickey and Megumi see the Ministry of Confidentiality approach, and two people are there. And the man says, the black-haired one is more my type, but no one will ever get to hear me say that out loud.
His whole thing is he's thinking out loud.
Yep. And the girl says, your thoughts are spilling out anyway. In the dub, Ivan is still like more or less the same, but Nanami is a little bit more sarcastic. Also, I would like to point out that Ivan is actually voiced by someone who was in Most Extreme Challenge, which was MXC. I'm not sure if you've ever watched that.
No.
But it was a Japanese game show, Takeshi's Castle.
Oh, yeah.
But they dubbed over that, but instead of actually dubbing what they were saying, it was a joke dub. Like, they would just put in whatever, and they would make...
It was just funny as home video
It was
jokes.
it was like double entendres, and it was lots of naughty jokes.
Yeah, like funny as home videos.
It was more than that. So
and also the
Ivan
girl's Mimi.
Yeah, the girl's Mimi, and later on we see another guy, and he's also Henry from Tamers.
Boo!
And yeah, so I don't know if it was weird because I was like, that voice sounds familiar, and yeah, he was in MXC. MXC is great. I kind of want to watch it again. It's probably on YouTube.
It's probably crap.
It's really good.
It's probably not.
Then these two people, who are Ivan and Nanami, jump up and pass Mickey and Megumi in this kind of like weirdly not human way. So it sort of is showing you, maybe these guys aren't necessarily human. Ikuto thanks his parents for giving him life, and this is a very Japanese thing. And we saw it in Digimon Adventure as well with Koshiro and his adoptive parents. If you remember that.
I sort of.
No, it wasn't.
That would make sense though, because he didn't give them life.
No.
So
He thanked them for giving him the life after that. But it also, I remember in Digimon Adventure 02 with Ken, and he explicitly thanks his biological parents, or his only parents, for giving him life. So it's this sort of thing of thank you for raising me, and also thank you for giving birth to me. And it was straight up said in 02 with Ken said thank you for giving birth to me.
I don't remember that, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, so it's just something it must be a very Japanese thing, because I've only ever noticed it in anime way where you thank your parents for giving birth to you. So Kuta says, thank you for giving me life, and his dad tells him how to speak when he leaves the house.
This is great.
And what to say when he returns. And in the dub, because we don't really have things of like, I'm going, or, have a good day, or, go and come back, or welcome home. It's a different sort of way.
I mean, we do say stuff, but there's no traditional thing.
Yeah, it's not itekimasu or tadaima or karinasai. It's not like there's no like set reply you say and how to speak when you leave the house. It's sort of like I'm going, but it's more formal in Japanese. So they changed this, and she says, look, from now on, it's your home too.
I like the Japanese one better.
I like the Japanese one better too.
Primarily because it's one of the first examples since like the beginning of Adventure where it's like, oh yeah, Digimon don't know stuff. Why would they?
Of course.
But they know all this other stuff for no reason. They're very inconsistent about that.
And then we have this cute moment in the Japanese version with the little sister who says, "Itakimasu," but she sort of says it in this weird sort of like baby way, so it's kind of cute. Like she mispronounces a bit because she's probably just learning how to speak. In the dub, his sister just mimics what Keenan says. Okay, bye. And she says, okay, bye, in reply. So it's not the "Itakimasu," which is like, you're heading out, go and come back sort of thing. Oh no, it's a reply to "Itakimasu." It's I
don't know.
It's "Itarashai," I think. I'm pretty sure. So she says like that, which is a reply to "Itakimasu," which is what Keenan's dad told Keenan to use.
So while that is happening, apparently these randoms who have shown up, I've beaten Postmon, who, for whatever reason, did not evolve.
Yes, because they had to lose. But I mean, they would have lost anyway, probably.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you show them evolving?
Alternatively, maybe they did evolve and they were beaten anyway and they devolved. The point is, if they evolved or not, it wasn't required.
Wouldn't it have been like much more impressive if they showed them de-evolving?
Okay, yeah, no, I have every point, but like we don't need to see it though. It's not a necessary thing. It probably takes up extra frames that they don't want to use.
Yeah, but it asks the really silly question of why didn't they evolve? Right?
Maybe they did.
But but you can't just speculate that because the show doesn't tell you that. So you as the viewer should be asking the question, wait, did they? Why wouldn't they?
So the two people jump in to the portal after them, after the DATS team have jumped in.
Oh no, the space-time oscillation is somehow different.
And also it's closing. And we see a man eating chips inside. And the two from before show up.
Okay, before you even continue.
Yeah?
What did you think the portals were like from all the other ways we've been shown them?
It was like this.
No, like a doorway. Like you step through and you're there now, right?
No, we saw a Kuto going through before and it was like this.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
And when the kids were going through a tunnel, they were being zoomed through this. I think it's like a different portal.
I don't remember them ever spending like any amount of time in them.
We've seen it before, I'm pretty sure. The girl says that Koki is more bloodthirsty. So this is Koki, who's like
Shadow Masaru.
Shadow Masaru, who I would like to point out.
Koki.
Not only did they remove his lip ring in the dub, they also decided to give him a tan and make his hair darker. I don't know why.
So it's anti-whitewashing.
I just like to think it's because like they made a mistake when they were removing the lip ring that they had to make him darker. It looks strange.
I can see that, to cover it up.
Yeah. So they removed his lip ring and they gave him a tan, and I guess they had to make his hair darker to contrast the tan. Maybe it just looks strange.
It could also have possibly just been like the version you were watching had a weird...
No. I looked elsewhere on the internet for this just to confirm. No, he had a tan. So Koki is less bloodthirsty in the dub, and he's just more arrogant. He's just like, well, I will write this in my autobiography, and it's the same in the original version. He still wants to put it in an autobiography, but he explicitly says like how I slayed them, and he's really bloodthirsty. And then Nami even says, hey, Koki, you're a
big weirdo.
You're being kind of kooky, Koki.
I get it.
Get it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Koki.
Ivan says this time there are children and one woman who is younger than the ones before. So, by the way, Miki Megumi must be over 20, right? To be
obviously
for Yoshino to be explicitly young, noticeably younger.
Well, I mean,
and we know that Yoshino is 18, and Miki and Megumi must be in their 20s.
I assume they would.
This makes them perving on a 14-year-old even worse.
I guess it...
Remember when they were all saying, "Oh, Toma, oh."
I guess so.
When they all wanted to marry Toma, and we were like, maybe they're 16. Maybe it's not weird. No, if Yoshino, who is 18, it's Digimon, Masaru does not look like he's 14. He's meant to be Haru's age from Atmon.
That's so silly.
Yeah. So then, in the dub, Ivan wonders if she would go out with him, and he says, "Oh, maybe she's my type." And there's no mention of age in the dub.
Doesn't she say like, "There's no way"? And he goes, "How did she know I thought?"
No. I think that was later on because he does it again.
Oh, maybe I think it was next episode.
Yes, it's the next episode. Masaru punches Koki and gets Digisoul. and is confused. And Koki says that he's the boogeyman in the dub.
Because they're like, wait, what are you? It's some kind of Digimon? No, I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get ya.
Nanami says that they've surpassed mortal limits, and Koki has a Digivice and Digisoul. He says Hyper Bioevolution, and he becomes Bio Thunderbirdmon.
They do spirit evolution. Let's not beat around the bush here.
Through us, let your spirit evolve. Nanami becomes Bio Coatlemon, Ivan becomes Bio Stegmon, and all three of the bioforms I would like to point out are armor level Digimon.
Boo! Wow, it's everything bad all tied into one. It's the it's 02 and Frontier.
Well, they are bio versions, so they're slightly modified versions.
Oh, is that why you called it Frontier 02?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
Thank you for understanding my joke, because no one else did. I'm like, what? Why don't you just call it Frontier 2? I'm like, because they're becoming armor evolutions, duh.
That's so awful.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, this show is dying in its sleep.
So they explained that they are Digimon that have been fused with humans and have increased speed and power. In the dub, Keenan says that it's Kurata, and then Lalamon says, you couldn't possibly know that this is Kurata's doing. And this is a really good point, because, yeah.
Which is what I think in the English he goes, oh, it's a hunch.
No, yeah, and this only happens in the dub, I'm pretty sure, this line, where the Lalamon says, how did you know that?
I thought it was, no, I think they only questioned it in the English, yeah.
So
then they fight.
And everyone evolves to perfect, and they lose, and... Okay, what I really like about Sabers, we won't go over the fight too much because they just lose.
Yeah.
But what I like about Sabers is that there's never this, let's evolve. They go to their next level, but they're not to their highest level, which has been something you have complained about in other seasons.
They go straight to the top pretty much every time.
Like, in Adventure, they always went to adult.
The only season that ever hasn't done that, but it was for a good reason, was that one.
Yeah, they basically...
Don't spend your 60 seconds.
They basically forgot about, as soon as they could get past that whole 60 second thing, they was like, what's Dogatchmon anyway?
Yeah, well,
I feel like on a Frontier always went to their human spirits originally. Yeah, everyone has always gone to their first evolution the most.
It's fine. Greymon will definitely beat Vamdemon. That'll make sense.
Yeah, and it was always something that you always questioned, like, just go to your strongest position. And I always argued maybe it's because there's like this power level and it uses too much power and they don't waste that.
Trying to justify the stupidity
that's
of the
why
show.
Atmon did it really well, because Atmon actually said, why wouldn't they go to that level? There's
There
a time
you go.
limit.
Here's a reason.
There's a time limit. And I'm like, okay.
And once the time limit went away, they always went straight to it.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you? But every other season has just sort of not gone to their highest evolution straight away. And Sabers does not have that problem. When was the last time you saw GeoGreymon, except during the evolution scene?
I don't know.
We haven't seen him since we got to Rise Greymon. Because, except for the opening credits, obviously. But actually, in battle, we haven't seen him because we don't need him.
I think so. So, they've lost. And...
Oh, also, important thing, Falcomon says that he wants to fight too, and Ikuto says, no, you cannot fight. And I just want everyone to remember that part. Ikuto doesn't want Falcomon to evolve because he's injured. All right? All right, remember that. Remember that for later, because I'll quiz this on you later, okay?
So then, keeping in mind, all the kids have been defeated, and then I guess they're about to all die, and then the captain shows up, and it's like, haha, I can take you on. And he hasn't done anything yet, and then all of the kids who have just been defeated have time to get up and run away. And then the captain still hasn't done anything? And then the bioevolution kids just turn to him and go, hey, what's up with you? You'd think, since the captain doesn't pose an immediate threat, like he just is making noise, he's not actually charging in and physically saving anyone, that they would ignore him and just kill the kids if that was their job.
Well, what would you prefer? Someone showing up to rescue them, or the bad guys just leaving?
Okay, well, obviously someone showing up to rescue them is slightly better.
Yeah. Well, it's a problem, like, in previous Digimon
You don't want the
seasons...
02 bit? We killed them. Alright, let's get out of here.
See, at least in Frontier, they explained why they didn't just stay, because they didn't care about the kids. They wanted they want the fractal code.
Except that they were consistently in the way, like 4 times in a row. Like,
yes, they
just
knocked them out, grabbed the fractal code, leave.
Just win.
Yeah, but they didn't. Okay, I think after the second time they should have killed them, but like, okay.
How about when they all got hit full force in their human forms with
okay,
a big laser?
Okay, we're not talking about that.
And it bounced them off the ground so hard they flew up into the sky, and they landed on a train!
It was a miracle.
They landed on a train!
It was a miracle, okay?
What was the train doing in the sky?
So Kudamon shows up, evolves, and he's very fast and is able to hurt them. And there's a big explosion as the DATS team land in the digital world.
I'm so glad this episode's over.
And then this is when the next episode starts. Yay! So they all land in the digital world.
And they say they're off to see Doraemon after Masaru gives a silly speech about like, oh, we will definitely stop them and their evil plans, whatever they may be. So they are heading through. They find like a little valley where there are Gizmon eating mushrooms or mushroomons.
Mushroomon, yeah.
It's so silly that I didn't actually remember what they were called, and I was joking just now. But it turns out that's actually their
Yeah, they're
names.
called Mushroomon. Also, I just want to mention something. So Ikuta gets upset, and then he looks to Falcomon and says, "Falcomon, evolve!"
Because he's having
And-
like trauma.
And I would like to point out, like 5 minutes ago, he said, "Falcomon, don't evolve, you're hurt."
It would have been 5 minutes. It is really important throughout this entire episode to remember the fight in which the kids lost to these Bioevolution Digimon was the same day.
Yes. And also won against the Gizmon and lost their memories.
Yeah, all of that stuff. All in the same day. Okay, so now there's all these Gizmon around and they're eating these mushrooms. Masaru tries to punch a robot and he fails. Yatagaramon gets like blown up.
Also, they're very fast. The Gizmon are faster, and Toma notices that they are not being controlled by any human, and there's no human around, and they're acting on their own.
So they say stuff like, oh, he's had time to modify his robots. That doesn't make any sense. Kurata's been really busy, like, the whole time.
Yeah.
And he had to develop these robots over the course of, like, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
How has he modified them to be, like, 10 times stronger since yesterday?
Also, Jay, your favourite thing just happens right now.
Which one would that
We get
be?
Lalamon and Galmon evolve, and then within a couple of minutes they devolve.
So they get
Isn't that
instantly
your
beaten
favourite
up.
thing when we get a full evolution,
Yeah.
and then that they get, like, hit by one thing and they devolve?
It wasn't exactly full. When the kids hold out their thing, it's side by side, so it's not literally the full animation.
What, like in Adventure where we got Tentomon evolved to Kabuterimon and he was
hilarious.
Kabuterimon for 10 seconds?
So they all get beaten up really quickly. Okay, so that's their second defeat in like legit 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Also keep that in mind, I guess.
I
So
wonder why they're not dying.
They're all about to lose and die to these Gizmon when Bansho Leomon shows up and he snake charms the robots with like a leaf. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really cool though. You can't just say this isn't cool. This is a very cool moment.
The coolest thing in of this entire bit, and probably the best bit of the episode by a long shot, is when Tama and Yoshi are like, "Oh no, whose side is he on?" And immediately Masaru goes, "He must be a good guy. He's a Bansho."
Yeah, because Toma and Yoshino are saying, could he be on the same side as Kurata? And Masaru's like, no Bansho is ever a bad guy. I'm like,
He's
I
a
love you.
street punk,
Okay.
so he must be cool.
So in the dub, this is sort of in relation to what he says. So originally, Masaru asks him who he is, and Bansho Leomon says, just a Bansho who's passing through, and he looks up, Bansho Leomon. In the dub,
Who are you, furball?
A friend called me a furball once, but he was my friend.
Okay, he says like my friend like
So much.
4 or 5
So much.
times in that set of 1 or
So,
2 sentences.
of course, in the original, when Masaru says, he can't be bad, he's a Bansho. In the dub, because they don't have that sort of, what's a Bansho? We don't want to have to explain that. He says, hey Bansho Leomon, be my friend! It's like.
But he says it like
Bansho
it's a real.
Leomon, you're my friend.
But he says it like it's a realization. He goes, "I get it, Bansho Leomon, you should be my friend." Like he's talking to a 2-year-old.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So in what can only be described as an embarrassing moment for all the kids,
Oh, just
Bansho
one more
Leomon
thing.
kills all the robots.
Yeah, but one more thing. In his analyzer, Bansho Leomon reads it himself, but he also says, friends are important. I love friends. And they made him. They took him from this being this rather serious, like, I'm Bansho Leomon. I fight for justice. But also, like, he's kind of, I guess, up himself in a way, and I'll get to why he's up himself
Arrogant?
arrogant, that's a good word. He's quite arrogant in a way, but he's still, like, fairly serious. In the dub, they kind of made him this kind of, like, goofy guy. I'm like, a friend called me Ferber once, but he was my friend. And he's like, and friends are important. I fight for my
It's
friends.
not even that he's a goofy character, right? I think he's really serious about everything he's saying. It's just that the things he's saying, when you think about them, are really goofy.
I feel like you've seen his design before,
I have. You
very
showed
early
me.
on, and you're
I
like, that's a
love it.
JoJo.
I love it so much.
That's
It
a JoJo.
is a JoJo.
Having his bizarre
That's
adventure.
because Jotaro Kujo is kind of a Bansho.
It's JoJo's bizarre Digimon adventure.
Oh my god, I hate you.
I did that. I went
So
there.
Masaru Masaru, after Banshee-Leon kills all the robots by himself, Masaru wants to fight him.
No, just before that, there was a bit about how I was saying about how Banshee-Leon's slightly arrogant. So, and I'm really glad the translators explain this because I wouldn't have got it otherwise. So this is a great moment. So Banshee-Leon is punching and defeats the Gizmon, and the translator's note says that Banshee-Leon is actually quoting what Buddha quoted when he was born. So what he says is, "Holy am I alone throughout heaven and earth." In the dub, he says, "If my friends have enemies, they become my enemies."
You know, that sentence is structured really badly. It sounds like if his friends have enemies, then his friends, by virtue of having enemies, are
become his
also
enemy, yeah.
now enemies.
I guess you could read it that way, but it's not what he
Because
means.
they must be bad people, I guess.
So he's like, he's quoting Buddha.
Great.
He's
He's
basically...
not Buddha-Leomon.
He's thinking of himself as Buddha.
Well, that's not weird at all.
So yeah, Masaru's really happy watching this, and he's smiling.
Also, quick question.
Yeah?
If this Digimon existed when the first invasion took place, wouldn't Kurata be dead?
Yeah, so he didn't exist, obviously.
Why do you mean he doesn't exist? He's been around for like 1,000,000 years.
Do we know that?
Well, if we take his word for it, yes.
Okay. I'm just saying that we don't actually know how long he's been there for.
If assuming he is telling the truth, then yes.
Right.
Because his line to Masaru is, "You're 1,035,000 years too early to fight me."
So you think he's like an ancient Digimon? You think he's ancient Leomon?
I think he's quite old.
He's the ancient spirit of darkness?
Hey, look, any Leomon who lasts more than 2 days is old.
Yeah, he's outlived all the Digimon, basically.
Also, I want to mention, and I keep trying to get to this, Masaru, who could not hit one robot, thinks he can take this Banshee-Leomon who killed all of the robots.
Jay, he's an ultimate fighter.
But not ultimate enough to beat robots.
He's used to organic things. Like kale.
And I really feel like they're building up this Banshee-Leomon to like an especially gnarly death.
Like, do you think that's a good... Like, do you actually think that'd be good?
It's too deep into the in-joke for me to be like, got by it anymore. Like, if he dies, I'll be like, yep, that's Leomon. And if he doesn't die, I'll be more surprised.
I don't know if he dies or not. I can't remember.
Because the thing is, what it's trying to do is making you go, oh my god, he's so tough, he's so strong. When he dies, that thing that kills him is going to be so strong. And for me, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see this.
Jay, how upset would you be if he never shows up again?
I wouldn't even be upset because I don't have faith in the series anymore.
That's sad.
It's consistently written quite badly.
Yeah, but come on, you enjoy the bit with Banshee-Leomon.
They ran out of stuff so hard because they realized, I think, okay, so Kurata's kind of spent as far as like villainous stuff he can do. He already blew up the headquarters and made robots. What now? Well, what villainous thing could you do? Oh yeah, bring back Frontier!
Yeah, well, basically, Kurata's the major villain because he made Spirit Evolution a thing in the Savers universe. And we already discovered that the Frontier, Jay was not a huge fan.
And it's not consistent with any of the themes of this show whatsoever, as far as I can tell. It's literally there just to have a thing happen.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make this worse is if they were called the Royal Knights, and someone was like, but they were meant to be good guys!
Do you think the Royal Knights are in this?
Well, Yggdrasil's in this, so I wouldn't be shocked if we found out they were introduced
Do we
at the
know
end.
if Yggdrasil has anything to do with the Royal Knights, though?
Well, next evolution, and in Try he does. He has 100% Royal Knight ratio.
Are they called the Royal Knights in Try?
No, but there's so many of them.
There are 2 of them.
3.
Omegamon doesn't count because he...
Yes, he does.
He's of the Royal Knights.
All of the Royal Knights are there.
Jessmon, who is a new Royal Knight, which was
All
added
of
like
them
3
are
years
there.
ago. Alphamon was added, I want to say, 5 years ago.
Like, the only one who isn't there is that gold one.
The gold one?
The gold and blue one. Vmon.
Magnamon.
That one.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Alphamon's the best one, though.
He's the only one not there. Alphamon is not the best.
I'm sorry. Ulforce Veedramon's the best.
I don't know what that is.
He's one of the Royal Knights.
I thought you just said Alphamon was the best, so obviously it must be...
Okay, he's one of the best.
You
He's
just like them because they're Digimon, mate.
he is from the...
You have no standards.
He is the partner of the only female Goggle Kid.
You like the poop monster.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
No one likes Pumon. Any of the Pumons. So Masaru is like eyeing up Banshee-Leomon after this fight, with this potential fight, and he says, I can't find any weaknesses. And this is when Banshee-Leomon says, you're way too early to fight me.
The English is just like, man, his form's really good. Like, he's
Yeah.
not scared at all.
Yeah, in the original, he's just like, he seems panicked. He's just thinking about it. This guy has no weaknesses. I cannot find any weaknesses. And just because that's what a fighter does. He's like, okay, well, where does his form not work? It's like, it's perfect.
Yeah, except that, like, they weren't moving. So, like, how could he assess that?
He's an ultimate fighter, Jay. He is the ultimate fighter. He's the ultimate street fighter, Marcus Damon. Okay? He's Damon. Then he's saying how Masaru needs to find true strength, and when he finds strength, that they will fight. In the dub, LostinTranslationmon wonders if Marcus will ever possess this strength. And then he says,
Really dismissive.
I will put our friendship on hold until then.
So, like, he also agrees. Oh, yeah, we're friends now. That's cool.
Yeah, I just don't... Why is he so obsessed with friends
He
all of a
loves
sudden?
friends, okay? Power of friendship's really strong.
Yeah.
That would be really funny if they introduced, like, if he was intentionally introduced as a character who's like, yeah, power of friendship. Oh my god, that shit's so strong. It's really good.
And then...
I'll be most friends so I can be the strongest.
And then LostinTranslationmon is Masaru's true partner.
It's his dad, bio-evolved.
That's stupid.
That would be dumb, huh?
That is the
Huh?
stupidest thing you've
What
ever
if I
come
just
up with.
called it? What
That
if
is
that's real?
No. That
What
is
if that's what
legitimately the
Yggdrasil
stupidest
did?
thing ever.
Yeah, well?
No.
Are you telling me it's impossible?
I mean, the dad is probably dead.
No, he's not dead.
I can't remember what happens to the dad.
Oh yeah, like they're gonna roll up and just find a skeleton and they're like, well, didn't see that coming.
They roll up and there's a Mummymon.
At the end of this episode, he becomes necessary.
Ah.
When in Digimon has something necessary not been available? Things that have been necessary have been so available, they've been stumbling upon them with statistical impossibility.
I don't know. Anyway, just on with the episode. Ikuta runs off and says that he knows where to get power, and Yoshino points out that he must be trying hard after the death of Marukimon. In the dub, she says that he's following Marukimon's final wishes.
I would like to point out how the last time they ran into Gizmon, he tried to fight alone and got instantly murdered. So why would he run off alone? That seems intensely dangerous.
And no one seems that concerned about this tiny child running off into the wilderness.
Because that was like 20 minutes ago.
To be fair, he knows the wilderness better than they do.
But
so
he got caught in the woods.
I feel like they should have gone in as a group.
They should have traveled all together.
Or, I don't know, I don't like splitting up the party. I never have, never will.
No, it's always a bad plan.
They go into the foggy forest and they trip over. Doraemon comes to see them and makes a hole in the fog so they can come through.
After he hears about Masteru, because he knows Masteru is the coolest.
Yeah, and he starts off with saying, like, go away from my forest! And there are a lot of injured Digimon inside this tree, hole, forest tunnel. Doraemon, after talking to them for a bit, says that he can detect uninvited guests. And it's the Biohumans!
Who apparently... So, is it that, like, the mist went down and then never got put back up? Is that what happened? Because that sounds like a terrible system.
I don't know.
Or did they just wander straight through it?
I feel like they wandered straight through it.
Okay.
I'm not going to defend it. They just wandered straight through it.
Oh, alright.
And I feel like the DAT's kids good too, but I feel like they're very incompetent and they just tripped over.
Hey, you know what's really good? What level is Doraemon again?
Perfect?
Yeah, so
I think.
armor
Yes, he's
evolutions are apparently really good now.
No, okay. They aren't just armor evolutions. They are the bio versions of the armor evolutions.
Sorry, they're Digimon with all the additional powers of a human.
I feel like they're above perfect.
Okay,
They're not ultimate, but they're above perfect.
I know, but like when they say what they are is a Digimon with the power of a human. Like that's not much, like at all. They're really no different at all.
They're just filled with they're Digimon that are filled with
existential crisis.
Existential crisis and dread.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't talk because it's past
That's
midnight.
really not worth it.
So when they show up, they say that Satsuma is dead. In the dub, they say, oh, he's gone now. Because they don't actually say dead. I guess it's still implied. But they don't use the word dead. They just say, he's gone.
That's true. But I think they have every reason to lie. And it is unbelievable. The kids are like, oh no, we totally believe you. You're only the bad guys.
Yeah. I mean, is there something to say about every main character of Digimon is always very, believes and takes the word of the bad guys. Like, the bad guys will just go up to them and lie, and they're like, oh, no way.
No.
Why would you ever... Why would you even tell me the lie? I just don't understand.
Devimon, the guy who... Or Devimon, the guys with devil in the name.
Yeah.
They would never lie to me.
These Pokemon who are clearly evil, and the analyzer says they're evil, and the Digimon say that they're evil.
Oh, the analyzer says they're evil.
The analyzer's like, these are evil Digimon. They're, like, playing tricks on people. And then Ty's like, we can trust these guys. Let's have a bath.
So they mentioned briefly, like, we're going to get sweet, sweet brownie points with Kurata if you all die.
Yeah.
And I realized to myself, do these guys have any, like, actual motivation at all?
They were made stronger. They probably want to be made even stronger.
But they don't say that, obviously. And why, like, I can understand, because it is in the character of this Koki guy to be aggressive and angry and want to hurt people.
Yes.
So at that point, I say to myself, all right, his motivation is that he's a dick. That's his character, and being given this Digimon power has given him the ability to express his dickishness on the world. Fine. That makes perfect sense. It's not amazing, but it makes sense. The guy who thinks out loud, he seems like a perfectly normal person who just like wants a girlfriend, and the girl is just sarcastic and annoyed. Neither of them seem to have any reason to be here or to not like the Dat kids, except that the plot calls for it.
Okay, no, I do see your point. I see your point.
I would be fascinated, and I never think we're going to see it, if we got like backstories for them in the same degree as we got in V-Tamer for the Alias 3.
I don't remember, and I don't think so.
There's no way! Because also they're not really explainable characters.
Well, Nanami does remind me of Mari from the Alias 3. They're both
In that
blonde, they're
she's a
both in like
girl?
Lolita outfits.
I guess.
Except that I think Nanami's a lot smarter than Mari.
No, isn't Mari... Wait, Mari's the one from V-Tamer, right?
Yes.
She's really smart. She pretends to not be smart.
Yeah, but I feel like Nanami acts like she's smarter than Mari does.
Okay, yeah, she acts like that because she doesn't have any subtlety.
I just want Sigma. I love Sigma. He's my favorite.
He's great.
I like Mari. I like all of
cool
them.
too.
The thing is, I like all of them, and I can understand why they became more or less evil.
Hey, you know what's not gonna happen in Savers?
Any explanation about
Any
these
of that.
guys?
You're
That's
not
really
gonna
sad.
like them, and you're not gonna figure out why they're doing this. It's because Kurata told them to. Ooh.
That makes me sad. Because V-Tamer just deserves so much more.
You know what would be enough?
It deserves an English release.
The cheapest reason you could possibly come up with. Kurata gave them the Digivices and gave them the ability to evolve, and they really like it. If they don't know what he says, he'll take it away. That would be as simple as it could
And
possibly be.
that is so easy, and also believable.
And there's no way that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's really sad, because that's simple. Ivan says that he likes how vivacious Yoshino is, and maybe he should ask her out. And then, as always, he thinks that he's thinking this, and Yoshino says, no, I'll pass. And he's like, how did you know what I was thinking?
He reminds me of a Dragon Ball character.
Yeah, you're right. I can see that. Despite like the limited Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z I've watched.
He's just a big weirdo.
Yes. Masaru gets mad, and he and Koki punch each other, and they all evolve. Masaru says it's time to have revenge for the captain, and as always, their perfect level attacks don't work against the Bio Digimon.
Why would they think they would work? Not only did they lose to them last time they fought, the last time they fought them was an hour ago.
I don't care, but there was one good thing about this fight that I really liked. No.
Let me finish.
Okay, fine, you can finish, but then I'll...
So the last time they fought them was an hour ago, and they lost immediately.
And the same thing's
And
happening
then
now.
they had another fight that they also lost in between then. So it's not even like they had a full hour to rest. They had no chance, and they couldn't possibly have thought they would have had a chance. But you know what would have been really good to see?
What?
If they had some kind of strategy or plan.
Or if Banchaleomon showed
to
up.
use like an idea or the environment or something to their advantage, so that something clever might happen, and it would be vaguely interesting to watch.
Like in V-Tamer?
Yes.
How they say, okay, we have to use how there are lots of rocks around to dodge them or something. I don't know.
Like how they'd say, I have an adult level Digimon and I'm fighting two perfect level Digimon. I should definitely lose this fight. Let's do clever stuff the whole way through, like feeding him terribly hot spices.
Or use this poison meat, or
That's
or
it.
it's wrap the bandage, the poison ivy around your.
That was what I was thinking of.
That was really clever.
It was all awesome. Every time it's really
and not
clever.
complicated. It's not overly complicated either.
No, and they always foreshadow it like with like 2 lines, and that's it. And it doesn't take much.
And because also it doesn't take much because it's in a manga and they have less space to say it in a manga.
So, I don't know, all they do in Digimon Show every time is, I guess we'll fight them and we'll throw the attack.
And that's why Atmon was good, and that's why Tamers was good, because it sometimes put in strategies. Like, a lot of the time in Tamers, they were just their child-level Digimon. And what they, in the first bit anyway. And what they do with their child-level
Cool
Digimon?
card slashes.
They use the card slashes. What they do in Atmon? They use different apps. Like, what app is good for this situation? In V-Tamer, what do they do? Like, well, Zero is like, he's on he does not evolve and he does not devolve. It's static. He just stays at that level. And we don't have any teammates to team up with. How do we fight these multiple evil Digimon? Strategize.
Yeah, and I guess what's important about, like, Atmon, right, is that, stop doing the Atmon thing later and having those cool strategies and fights. It got to the point where the mystery that they were telling and, like, the story was so interesting, the fights really got in the way.
Yeah.
And you were interested because you want to see the plot. And I think that's something that you see in the really successful shonen shows, except for Dragon Ball, because it was like started a lot of stuff and was one of the early popularizers. And its characters are really good, so it gets away with it. Like Naruto and One Piece, and Bleach to a much lesser extent, but Naruto and One Piece are really good examples of the entire show and all the bases of all fights. And even though people are getting different power levels and getting stronger, is all about the interaction between various rule sets and strategies, and about creativity, and how does this puzzle piece mix with this one, and how do these combine together, and I want to see these people fight this person. I want to see the guy who fights with his shadow. His shadow is an active combatant in the fight, and he uses it as part of his strategy. I want to see him fight the dude who fights with sand. Those are really cool ideas.
Look, see, I agree with you about this fight. I feel like it could have been done in a smarter way that was just like, that they are losing again. And as I mentioned, there is one thing I like about this fight. They aren't pairing the girls against each other to fight.
Yeah, it's just
they aren't just saying,
everyone.
well, girls fight each other. No. There are partners in this fight.
Oh yeah, because Master has to fight himself.
Ivan and Yoshino are fighting.
Because he wants her.
Because he's hitting on her, and she's just like, well, that's inappropriate. And that's great, because every other Digimon season, I feel like if there's been a female antagonist, or like even mini antagonist, like, for example, the evil spirits.
How old do you think Ivan is?
Look, I feel like if he would prefer to be with an 18-year-old than someone who might be in their 20s, I feel like he's 19. He's a very, very, very tank 19-year-old. He is a machine.
Why hire this guy?
Why would you hire a 14-year-old? Well, apparently ages don't matter in this.
That's a really fair question that I asked first.
No, I just say, like, ages are weird in this. But the point is, this is good. This is good. They aren't saying, hey, let's put the two girls up against each other because, they're both girls. Yay. They put Toma and Nanami against each other.
Who don't have any interaction, like, at all. Like, I don't think they say a word to each other. Like, that was of any significance.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, but for now, yeah, they don't. But the thing is, I like how they are teamed up in not the way that you would think of, put the girls together. Why not?
So the dad's kids obviously lose. And then they're about to get, like, finishing blows.
And Doraemon's helping them.
No. First thing that happens is, like, the seed babies show up.
Oh yeah.
And that for some reason causes the super evil guy who wants to murder everyone to hesitate. Okay. And then he goes back to murdering. Like, I don't really understand why he stopped. And then this time Doraemon gets in the way and protects them. And then there's like a really extended scene of them just like horrendously murdering him.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awful to see. And then as a result of that murder, or murder in progress, the kids get so angry they overload the Digivices and it grows their Digimon, and then they shoot laser beams out their chests, and that somehow de-evolves the Biofrontier kids. And this is all nonsense. Like, if this was written on paper, on a script, everyone who read it, I'm sure said, what does this mean? I don't understand.
Right.
Why are they shooting like lasers out of their chests? Because they're angry. How does this work?
It's magic. I think it's like the Digisoul is too much.
No, it is, but like it's so weird. Anyway, so there's. So they immediately, the Biofrontier kids is like, well, now just they're in my head that way.
That's the names.
They pull out a time oscillation bomb and they run through it, which presumably means they go to the real world, because I assume that's how those doors work.
Yeah, I would assume so, that they're going back to maybe Kurata, who is in the real world.
And then Doraemon just goes, I will now put up this wall around this area so that no one can get in. An interesting tactic to have only come up with now.
And in the original, he says, I have to go into hibernation to restore because I'm so badly damaged from this fight.
How come he's only doing this wall thing now? Second of all...
Well, no, that was only in the dub. The building the wall thing and to protect the Digimon was mainly in the dub.
It was in the original.
No, in the original, it was, I will guard these Digimon, but I also have to go into hibernation to restore. And this hibernation to restore part was not in the dub.
That's
because
fair.
He's quite injured. Like, we saw him probably losing lots of branches and stuff. He's a tree. It's not good. He got some pruning. He got a bad pruning.
And then, so I kind of assumed that what this meant was they don't actually need their Digivices, because when they get really angry, they can just evolve and whatever. But apparently, no, that's not what that means at all. It means their Digivices broke and they have to go see Masaru's dad now.
So after I watched this episode, I thought that I had the wrong episode titles. Because I was like, oh, the evolution is impossible. That was never a problem.
Yeah, like...
How did you call this in Obnoxious Synopsis? You were like, yeah, it's not until the end.
Well, because that was obvious, but at the same time...
Was it? It said Digivolution is impossible. That means that is the point of the episode. The point of the episode was not evolution is impossible.
No, because that's not how the structure of these shows ever work. The structure of the show is the big dramatic thing happens at the end. What I could never have called was A, in the last episode they introduced all these new characters, and B, the way they would break. I just assumed the bad guys would do it, because obviously...
Yeah.
Not, oh yeah, the kids will melt their own Digivices
They had
with
too
the
much
force of their
power.
own passion. That's dumb.
What do you think of both these episodes as someone who is new to Digimon
Woo!
podcast?
It's insane.
Yeah, that's a bit. That's a PG word
That's all
for
I
it.
can describe. Like, I could...
It is very, and I can't just. It's very something.
It is really very... It's just like, speaking of Frontier, it's totally off the rails.
Yes.
It's now in the sky. I can't...
But I don't think it's bad in that way. I feel like it's gone in a direction, but I don't think it's a necessarily bad direction. It's just it's happening.
You know what it feels like? It feels like we've entered a filler arc.
No!
No, because I get the same feeling. I always talk about the Naruto filler arcs because I remember them so distinctly. Bleach was the same, but Bleach was more about the window dressing. I think I've said this before. With Bleach, it was obvious you were in a filler arc because the one guy who had different powers to everyone else to make him unique had to lose his powers for that arc because they couldn't figure out how to include him because he'd just break the story.
Right.
So they had to take him out and then had to give him a fake reason to have powered up while he was away. Then you're out of filler arc again. Naruto was totally different. Naruto's filler arc felt like this one, where they went to a place you'd never heard of before, and they met people you'd never heard of before with totally unique powers, which, once the problem that you run into is resolved, you will never, ever, ever hear of again. I just distinctly remember some like big village that like controlled glass as like a magical power, and that was super special.
I think you've mentioned that before on the podcast, and yeah, I think whenever we talk about filler arcs, you specifically talk about Naruto.
And at the end, they leave, and you never, ever, 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 ever hear from them again. Even though at the end of the arc, they said they'd visit them and they'd see each other, etc., etc.
That's annoying.
And this feels like that. They've introduced these characters. Kurata hasn't been on screen with them.
He's doing something.
So presumably they will be introduced and defeated before like you see Kurata again, and then he'll never talk about them.
So do you think they're going to be defeated in like a couple of episodes?
I don't think they're going to be around for all that long.
That's sad.
Because especially if they're armor evolutions, that means they're probably not going to evolve to another level above what they're at.
Right.
It'd be weird. Because I don't think they're like the Legendary Warrior team, which is, you know, a group, a mirror group that is meant to sort of
thwart
you and evolve alongside at the sort of the same pace.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't think these guys are going to be... I don't think they have longevity. I don't think their designs merit them being around for 20 episodes. I think they merit them being around for 5 to 10.
Right. And how would you rate both these episodes separately and then together?
God. The first one had the escape scene, but then it had like, why do you have this machine? And
why does the dad all of a sudden be calm?
Yeah.
Him being reasonable does not make sense.
A 3?
What? I gave it a 6.
It's 4.
I gave it a 6.
Yeah. Maybe, no, it's maybe it's a 5. And then the second episode, because it's nonsense, is a 4.
I gave it the next episode a 7.
What?
I really like Bancho Leomon.
Same day!
I like Bancho Leomon.
Yeah, but
together,
you have to lose points for it being in English.
Together, I give it a 6.
Together, I give it a 4 or 5 at most.
That's sad. You should be enjoying this.
No, I'm not enjoying this.
I thought you'd enjoy Bancho Leomon.
I like his design. Like, he was cool, but I don't know.
How did the episode compare to your predictions?
So, I know for sure in the second episode I was really wrong about how it happened.
Look, I'm still really amused that you were able to, in any way, predict how the Digivices would break at the end of last episode. I know you said it's obvious, but it doesn't seem particularly obvious to me. Like, if evolution is impossible, that appears as a kind of like a problem for the episode, but that was never a problem. I don't think they really ever said, hey, look, we can't evolve now. Maybe Gowamon might have, but I don't feel like that was ever a direct problem that was an issue for the episode. So I'm very surprised you were able to call that, because even I went did I get the wrong episode titles? And I had to scroll through and to say, I've got the wrong episode titles again. I'm going to have to like make an embarrassing post about like, yep, May made a mistake again. Guess what? Wrong episode titles.
Yeah, they never talk about the genocide plans, like, and that they're the only ones who know it or anything.
Oh, they weren't mentioned.
You know what they don't do?
What?
When they see Kurata, so when they see the captain, they don't say, by the way, here's the thing Kurata said.
I feel like it's because maybe they know that he knew.
No, they know that, like, Kurata's kind of evil, right? But they don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, the captain would be like, Kurata's doing stuff. Okay. I mean, no, Kurama said they suspected, I guess, but it was never confirmed. And they suspected he was evil, not that he wanted to murder all Digimon. And then, yeah, that was sort of all that was. And in the second one, I said that nothing will happen for ages. Well, that's kind of true. And the Digimon are destroyed by a robot, which is not true. But it was the rest of the episode was a big waste of time. What, between them, like, okay, if the Digivices had been blown up before BanchoLeomon showed up, and the episode had just ended after he went away, would the episode have changed?
I don't know, but
No, of course it would. Nothing happened.
I really like BanchoLeomon being in the episodes to go away.
No, I just said no. BanchoLeomon shows up, and then the episode ends when he leaves. So we only have half the episode.
I feel like the part where they kind of blew up their own Digivices is kind of cool, and the silhouettes that we see come out of their Digimon are really, really cool.
Okay, but if it's cool, but it's stupid.
But it's not too much of a spoiler, but it does show the silhouettes of their future evolutions.
So does the opening.
Yeah, that too. But the opening as of like a couple of episodes, yes. But I just thought that was a really cool bit. And it's exciting. And, if you were 8, you'd be screaming about it. But because you are an adult,
think I would have.
Nah, it's great.
I know what I felt was cool when I was young, and it wasn't this.
Well, I feel like you might be wrong, because you don't know what cool is. I feel like this is very cool.
So if I didn't know what was cool, why would I be screaming when I was a kid?
I feel like you would have known when you were a kid, but you don't
So I
remember.
lost the ability to know what was cool?
Yes. You're going out with me, you're not cool at all.
Oh, that's obvious.
What was the major difference you noticed in both these episodes? Because I'm just like, Team Kogi's tan is weird.
Okay, well, it seems clear to me. I have destroyed DAT's headquarters and all it stands for.
Well, he did
It's
destroy
a much more philosophical... Well, yeah, but what it stands for is important. That's a philosophical point. That's not what he's interested in.
Digital Accidents Tactics Squad.
That's like that. I don't feel like that's what he's interested in.
Maybe.
Unless he has like a really warped view of what it stood for, in which case he should talk about that. And the second one, it's my friends.
Yeah. Well, mine was the quite nice scene about, hey, when you leave the house, you say "Itekimasu." And that's sort of teaching them about how Japanese people speak. Because, as you said, he's been raised as a Digimon. He wouldn't know this. And there weren't that many differences in the first version, the first episode. In the second episode, the being the friend thing was a big thing, and how friend obsessed he is. And I guess like he
loves the friend zone.
The dulling,
he lives in the friend zone.
The dulling of any reference of death. So Satsuma is gone. Samson is gone, not dead.
He's fine.
And then we have...
He's in the Shadow Realm.
Cherrymon is... there's no mention of him hibernating and restoring himself. So it's sort of like, they're dulling that part down. What are your thoughts and predictions about the evil chosen characters who can become Digimon?
They're not going to last very long.
So you think that they're like this very throwaway team?
I think they're there to show you how cool and powerful the next evolution are. And they're going to evolve not long after they get their new Digivices.
So you think they're just going to job out, basically, these new antagonists?
You got it.
See, I really like them. And I guess now you mentioned the Alias 3 from V-Tamer, they're not as cool.
They're not cool at all. They're actually quite lame.
I think... How much of you were popped if they were just the Alias 3?
A bit, but mostly I would have been confused. Because those characters are, because we know about their backstory and why they're interesting, we also know that they're directly tied to the main bad guy in that series.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But I know, if they... Okay, even if they're not the same people, but they're the same designs and they've got the same character, except... from different universes, obviously. Kind of like Taichi from Adventure and Taichi from V-Tamer is that they're the different people but the same sort of...
I mean, I guess.
I don't know.
You're asking a lot of me now.
They'd be cool. I don't know. I really like them and I don't know why, but I really...
What if one of them was just Tai? Would you have popped?
Imagine if it was Miyako, Daisuke and Iori and this is where they were the whole time.
Okay. We mean during Try?
Yes.
But then no one
Iori becomes a tank.
No one would have been confused and you would have remembered.
Yeah. Or if it's Ruki, Henry, and Takado.
That'd be like, if it was the Frontier kids, I think I would have laughed. Because
could you imagine if it was just a reference to Frontier and they made like constant references about like Frontier being bad?
Yeah.
You would have liked that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would have.
Like, imagine if Masaru says, becoming Digimon, that sounds like a stupid idea. Who would ever want that?
It is.
Like, could you imagine? You would pop for that. Do you have any predictions about BanchoLeomon besides what you already predicted?
No, I think I went through it pretty strongly. That he's gonna die, probably.
Like, do you want him to die or do you want him to live?
I want him to die.
Why do you want him to die? He's cool.
Because it's really funny. Okay, like, at this point, I'm in on this joke. I love it, okay? There are only a few things in Digimon I'm enthusiastic about, and Leomon's dying in.
Did I explain to you the running joke before you were you noticed it yourself? Or?
We were only like two Leomons in, and you were like, yeah, of course he was gonna die. I go, what do you mean? I think you explained it to me.
Oh, that sucks. But do you think you would have guessed on your own?
No.
I'm terrible at keeping secrets.
I do not think that I would have pieced the puzzle together.
But yeah, Leomon does not have a good track record.
Or it might have been Try when that Leomon dies, and I was like, that was really impressive, and you're like, that wasn't shocking at all because Leomon's always died.
There is no suspense whenever there's a Leomon for me, because I'm just like, wonder how soon they're gonna last.
But
Start the counter now.
This is that situation. This is the same thing.
We already killed a Leomon on this season.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean this one's safe.
Good point. I mean, we did kill Panjamon, and then we kind of killed Koichi a little bit. Because he became Loamon, and that's still Leomon. Leomon to me, damn it.
Because he was reverse Leomon, he got a reverse death.
Yeah, I mean, he died still.
But then he undied.
But then he died. And Digimon don't really die, so he was a Digimon. I don't know, plot, I guess. Do you have any actual highlights from these episodes, like, at all? Because you've been pretty negative. Give me some highlights.
When Masaru punches Koki, that was cool.
And he got his Digisword, that was a cool moment.
Yes. And, I don't know, the goodbye in Japanese bit was alright.
Yeah, I know, I like that. I also really liked the whole Bansho part, when he showed up, and Masaru's like, he can't be evil. He's a Bansho.
Oh, yeah, look, I'm gonna be real with you. When I saw the bioevolution thing, and I was like, oh my god, it's spirit evolution, it was entertaining. It probably wasn't good, but it was entertaining.
Yeah, like, it can be a highlight without it necessarily being a good thing. It can be like a highlight because you just remember it.
Also, I want to say, they really take liberties with the idea of digital stuff and how much of a scientist Kurata is. Because the level of technology that he has developed over the last couple of years, since the year 2000, is really nothing short of magic. And I can only imagine, and I'm sure no one will ever mention this in the entire show, the level of genius he must display to have developed these technologies by himself means he's like he's earned like several Nobel Prizes simultaneously here. But I bet he's never thought, I should just pursue a career as like the world's smartest man, because he's weirdly obsessed with the time he got spooked.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is just such a weird bad guy, because if a Digimon is your bad guy, you go, okay, well, he's a Digimon. What else would he do? Digimon don't have jobs. They don't have a family or anything. This guy is an amazing inventor, apparently. He invented a robot AI that's like literally decades and decades ahead of his time, and he's using it for what? To shoot some mushrooms.
He's grumpy.
Then waste presumably millions of dollars, because that's what these robots would cost, millions of dollars, when a lion punches them to death. Like, it's the least pragmatic thing you could possibly do.
Yes, but the script says it's good, right?
No, it doesn't even, the script doesn't even say it's good. The script is silent on the issue.
Right. No, I see your point, and I have not much to say because, like, I don't know, I'm very tired. For Screenshot of the Week this week, mine is, of course, and I couldn't have anything other than this, it's Masaru's face when he sees Bansho Leomon, because, like, it is full of so much love and, like, adoration for this person that he's just met, because he's a Bansho, and he has so much respect for this thing that he just met. And it's just like this. For Masaru, he doesn't see that he is a Digimon, he just sees that he is someone he can fight.
He's got fists,
and
I'll fight him.
That's what I love about Masaru. Like, he doesn't see anything other than, you are someone I can fight, but not in the way that he hates. It's not like he wants to fight you because he hates you. He wants to fight you because he respects you, right?
I mean, not necessarily, but he does fight because he likes it.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's like, well, I want to fight you. It's not like, I want to fight you because I hate you. What's yours?
Mine is the Tekken double punch between Masaru and Koki.
You always love those, because I feel like you also loved the Masaru and Agumon one from the first episode.
I did. They're awesome every time.
The Digimon that were introduced this week, we had Bansho Leomon.
Oh, Bansho Leomon! He's so cool!
He's JoJo.
Well, he's dead, isn't he?
Hope not. He's not dead yet. He's lived one episode, right?
Leomon's not dead, he's just sleeping.
Let's see if he lives more than Saber Leomon, who was alive for maybe like 2 episodes. he was a villain in one episode. He kind of was in 2 and a bit, I guess. Bio Thunderbirdmon, who is probably the coolest. By the way, I forgot to mention, but Bio Thunderbirdmon looks really cool, except for this one moment.
The big fat moment?
Where he's standing, like, up straight and kind of looks like a big, giant chicken with abs.
It doesn't have abs, he's got a big belly.
He's got abs.
He's got a big belly.
No, he's got abs. I'll have to show it to you. He has abs.
Ooh,
It's
he's a
really
big
weird.
fatty.
No, he's got pectoral muscles.
Yeah.
It looks weird.
Pectoral muscles aren't abs.
Yeah, it looks like he has abs. Look, it's weird. I'll show you.
He's got a big belly. It's
My point
cute.
is, it's
round.
he's so cool because he's like, rah, I'm a big, rah. But then, like, when he sounds like that, it looks stupid.
I actually think they all look awful.
What about Bio
No, I think they
Collateralmon?
all look awful.
Bio Stegmon?
Like, the worst one for sure.
Bio Thunderbirdmon's the best.
Bio Stegmon's got a big syringe coming out of his head.
Look, I'll fight for Bio Thunderbirdmon. He's my favourite.
Looks bad.
He's my favourite.
They all look really bad. And now that you say their armor evolutions, I'm like, yeah, they are really bad.
For Postmon Pat this week, first of all, as always, we will start with weekly poll, and Jay will read the comments and I will read the results. So this week's weekly poll was Best Death Activated Evolution.
We got one from Sharkmon who says, I'm a sucker for a lot of things, among them the Koji Koichi story. And Embermoto says they voted for Leomon triggering Gilmon's Dark Evolution because they think that any Digivolution triggered by death should result in a Dark Evolution. Digivolution is caused by the intense emotion of the chosen child. The emotions of the children exhibit after each of the choices in the poll are anger, sadness, and a want for revenge. These emotions should not trigger a successful evolution, but a dark one.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, what do you think is the best one?
I guess the one in Try, because it's the one I remember.
I didn't even count that in the poll.
Well, I'm a hipster that way.
Because there wasn't one. Because it was the evolution happened and then the death happened. So we went through it last episode.
True.
Yeah, no, it was. We went through it last episode.
No, it's not true. What are you talking about? It happened. Death.
Oh,
happens
you
first.
mean in chapter 5?
Yes.
Okay, no, I didn't count that at all. I blocked that from my memory. But you're right, that was quite a good one, and it went in the sort of way as we were just talking about how an evolution that's triggered by death and revenge should not be a positive evolution. So no, I do agree with you, but because I didn't actually put that one in the poll, I guess I'll look. The one I think I like the most.
We can't all have an encyclopedic knowledge of Digimon like I do.
Yeah, like you do. The one that I like the most, I feel like, is only because of the way I feel about it when I talk about nostalgia, and it's the one to Angel Woman, which is with Wizamon. But I feel like that's just because I have nostalgia for that, and not that it's actually good or not.
Well, Wizamon's death was not good, let me tell you.
So I guess I'll have to go for Leomon triggering Gilmon's Dark Evolution, because it should be a Dark Evolution, because it's not a genuine feeling. It's a force full of saying, you must evolve, you must.
More like
it's
dank evolution.
It's a revenge. So as for results, we'll go from last place to first place. So in last place with 2 votes, Koichi triggering Takuya and Koji's evolution to Sanomon. In second last place, we have, with 3 votes, Marukimon triggering Falcomon's evolution to Yatagaramon. In second place, we have Wizamon triggering Talmon's evolution to Angelmon with 6 votes. And at 9 votes, we have Leomon triggering Gaudamon's Dark Evolution. That'd be cool. Gilmon's Dark Evolution.
Oh, that would be cool, huh?
So
never seen that before.
So we had 20 votes. I also don't want to talk about Try Chapter 5 because people may not have watched it yet because it's only been out like a month.
Fair enough. And we got some mail.
Yeah, we did.
We got one with the will from McGann who says, I think Kurata is an egotistical control freak and a coward, and anything else he says is just excuses/delusions. That seems clear by the end, at least. I think it's fair for Jay to find him confusing, as it comes across like the show can't make up its mind who Kurata is. There's still a racial element there, especially the way he commodifies Digimon into their data so he can utilize it. We didn't talk about that at all. How he has like a big vat of Digimon blood.
Yes, you're right.
Which in the English, he's just like, oh, it's just energy. It could be from anything.
Well, it's data, but more or less, yeah, it's kind of like their blood.
Whereas, like, in the other one, he says, like, it's Digimon data I have distilled. I was, like, squeezing them. Look what it is. Especially the way he commodifies Digimon into their data so he can utilize them to his own ends. But it's kind of chicken and egg type of thing. Was he racist first or power mad, or are they just the same thing? He is smart, though, and has shown that he can turn his crazy on and off. So it's believable that he can play the system and manipulate the government to his favor. I feel like he's too crazy to be successfully turning it on and off. Like, the way you do that is for him to do it in private and obviously. Not right out front of the building he just blew up and yelling it into the sky, if that makes any sense.
Right.
The more public it is, the less likely it is that he can turn it on and off at will. We got one from Togatak who says, I'm very curious about what Jay will think about Cross Wars given his reaction to Savers so far. I think it's a decent middling series in the original, even if the bloated cast, oh boy, has a lot of issues with development, but the dub is just awful. Maybe one of the worst in the entire franchise. It might be oversimplifying it to say that it killed Digimon from the West for a while, but when then the dub Digimon writers won't even touch Cross Wars.
Look, I think that the dub of Cross Wars is like Fusion. I feel like it's not bad. It's just cheesy, and I feel like we don't like it as adults because it is just a kid's anime, and it is very much a kid's anime. Like, it's just like the Yoko Watch anime is just cheesy, and it's got like those silly voices, and it's the same in Cross Wars. It's just because, guess what, guys, we're adults now, and those cheesy cartoon dubs just seem lamer now than they used to be. And I'm sure that people our age, when we were kids and we were watching Digimon Adventure for the first time, I feel like adults saying, "Oh, this is terrible voice acting. This is terrible. This is cheesy." And it, like, has anyone watched the English dub of Digimon Adventure? There are stupid jokes everywhere.
But I don't think
for the most part, feel like Fusion's not that bad. It's just because we are older that we can't, like, see it as anything other than this is just too bad.
I think when we were younger watching Digimon, when I was watching Digimon, yeah. I was younger watching other anime.
Good anime.
That was in the weird times when anime was hard to find. So that really wasn't what people were saying. People were saying, what the hell is this?
Anime wasn't hard to find. It was everywhere. Like, every cartoon that was on. It was
there were like 4 mainstream animes.
It was Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Zoids, Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Duel Masters, Digimon, Pokemon.
Okay, a lot of that stuff really developed later. But I guess I'm thinking earlier 90s than that.
Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yeah, Sakura.
In the 90s, it was harder. But that's because that's before, like, pre-Pokemon Digimon, there was basically, like, Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball. Back then, it was hard to access, but I was born in 1993. I don't have many memories of the 90s and trying to watch things in the 90s. I remember watching Thomas the Tank Engine. Anime, for me, was, like, in, like, the late 90s and early 2000s.
Thomas the Tanime?
Thomas the don't know what tank engine in Japanese, but let's go with
Thomas the Choo Choo.
Thomas the
Toma the
I should know the word
choo-choo.
I know the word for train, but I know the word for tank engine. I don't know what the word for tank engine.
It's a train. Alright, we got one from Chuckmon. He says, I thought that Jay would have enjoyed episode 26 more. While it was a clip show, we got to see the Digimon interact amongst themselves with no humans there. Yes, but all they were talking about was about the humans, so they may as well have been there. I remember Jay saying that I'd like to see more of that back in Adventure. The cutest part was when they escaped and everyone grabbed their partner's Digivice to return it to them. It was cute, but when you introduce memory wipes, it gets complicated and ends up not playing out so well. Sadly, I guess this story overall isn't thought out terribly well. They always kind of liked Kurata. Digimon finally got the bespectacled scientist-type bad guy with the glare in his lens and everything. And, as Jay points out, he's not written very well at all. They guess their mind always filled in a backstory for him. But Jay is right, the story doesn't give us much to go on, and the power of DATS versus the government seems to shift as the story requires. I was laughing at the whole treason discussion. They personally don't care, but Jay did the research. It was funny the whole high treason thing was the last straw. They too are interested in what I will think about Cross Wars going forward. And they're surprised that Savers is getting such low ratings because they thought the season had a decent story going for it. Well, it did for a while, I'll give it that. And now they're finding the story is poorly developed with a lot of holes. Jay's expectations of 5s makes them sad, while 3s and 4s were the standard in Frontier. At least Savers is offering a coherent story thread. I guess. But it might be an issue where they're on different scales, where like a Savers 3 is slightly different to a Frontier 3.
Yeah.
Because at least some entertaining stuff happens.
All seasons are on a different scale, and there's Atmon and there's Tamers, which have a higher scale.
An Atmon 3 is a Frontier 10. That's fair, and it's a Savers 8.
Yes. So that
should give you some context.
So Savers is better than Frontier, and I would say it's better than 02. It might be on the same level as Adventure. I think better than Adventure, but that's because the franchise had evolved.
In hindsight, I really appreciate 02.
Really?
I do, because like, you know what, in 02, as much as stuff was boring and like I didn't like a lot of
It was
things,
consistent.
and there were things that weren't explained well, I don't feel like I went off on massive things about how there were terrible plot holes that didn't make any sense.
You're pretty mad about Blackwell Greymon, dude.
I was mad about Blackwell Greymon because he was crap, and I was mad about them not like winning fights when they could have. But I don't feel like you would look at Arcadimon and be like, I don't get you. Your entire motivation is nonsense, and I don't understand anything that you're doing. I don't feel like I had that moment. And I've had that with both Frontier and this one. And Frontier was more, obviously. Frontier, I don't think it will get topped of how bad it was. I look forward to Cross Wars, apparently, if it's really bad. But...
No, look, I like Cross Wars, and I think I like Young Hunters more than Cross Wars, and no one else will agree with me, except for, I think I've met a few people. I'm pretty sure, I believe Sam from the Modcast also doesn't mind Young Hunters, but it's like 20 episodes of more or less 15 Monster of the Week episodes, which are just basically like, look at this. Okay, it's like, you know this episode of Appmon where he was basically just going around and meeting different apps that were causing problems in the real world? Yes. Welcome to Young Hunters. That's the entire thing. So, but instead of having like actual in-depth plot, it's just it's like a short season of basically just going around meeting Digimon who are just causing problems in the real world.
So it is always been said, and I always sort of agree, when you are watching a piece of media, it is, you either want it to be a 10 and to be the best thing you've ever seen, or you want it to be a 0, or it's the worst thing you've ever seen.
No, you want it to be like a -10, because I'm pretty sure...
Exactly.
In Frontier, you were giving negative numbers, but you know what? I feel like those were probably some of our best episodes of the podcast, because of how, like, I feel like we were funnier, but we weren't funny because we are funny people. We were funny because...
the content was so bad.
We were relying on the content being entertaining.
So
entertainingly bad, I mean.
The point of that is that, like, I found that Frontier, until like right at the end when it had the funniest thing I've ever seen in Digimon. Like, I'll give that credit, right? It's really funny. It's awful. It's so bad with Lucimon. It's so bad. But it's really funny. And so, like, I would rather the whole season have been that level of stupidity, but the problem with Frontier was that it was primarily incredibly boring and repetitive.
Right.
And that was why it was getting such... When I rank stuff, I rank it on enjoyment. So, like, that was really... Generally, I rank it on enjoyment. So that was a really bad season. Whereas Savers now, I don't think is bad enough to be entertaining because it's bad, but is also not good. So unfortunately, we're hanging around like the middle of the charts. Everything should technically be getting a 5 for being technically serviceable. That's what they all deserve.
Right. Yes. No. Yes, I see your point there, and I'm sad that you're not liking Savers more, because I thought that you would like it because, you know, Masaru's punching some Digimon.
I did like it. And then it did its own weird thing. And now I don't like it because it tried to have a story and that story sucks. So Cross Wars, where were we? Here we go. Now they're finding the story is poorly developed, especially 3s and 4s were the standard for Frontier. At least Savers is offering a coherent story thread. There we go.
Yeah,
Ikuto's death and Ikuto's understanding he should only dislike bad humans. They always liked this transition for Ikuto. But Jay's right, for a 10-year-old, this shouldn't be an amazing thing to learn. I guess it's not that great, but must Ikuto lose everyone he cares about? His parents are still around. I mean, maybe he doesn't care about them. And Falcomon's not dead. He's going to be so emo when he gets to high school, and he has the perfect look for it, too. Even the perfect Digimon for it, with the dark blue, black, and purple color palette. They think Yatagaramon is a decent evolution. It's better than Peckmon. And they like the Falcomon evolution line in Savers. Fair enough. We got one from Wildwing64 who says they don't remember Ikuto's dad being this awful from their first war. Between him and Koji's dad in Frontier, it's kind of hard to say who's worse. One blatantly lied to his son about his mother being dead, while the other, for the dumbest reasons, doesn't want the mother to be reunited with her long-lost son. That answers the question automatically. Koji's dad is the worst dad, whereas Ikuto's dad is the worst husband. Solved.
Gotcha.
They'd say it boils down to Koji Sr. being salty over their separation and Ikuto Sr. being a bumbling moron. And then, unless he threw Ikuto into the portal, like that's what I want to know. And then there's Kurata. On one hand, the way he's written in a way that makes you hate him is brilliant. At the same time, his over-the-top and cartoon villain evilness gets tiresome fast. Not to mention his insufferable extremist views ring a bit too close to home, which in turn makes, spoiler redacted, all the more satisfying. In a way, I think I hated him more in Digimon Masters, where he sends you on boring and repetitive quests to kill groups of the same Digimon over and over again. I want to mention at this point, I read an interesting list of like the 5 D&D characters that are crap and you shouldn't play. And one of them was the huge racist. And then what they really did well in this list was they had but if you're going to play them anyway, here's how to do it well. And with the racist character, they said, obviously, the problem with prejudice is it doesn't stand up to reality, is if you actually just like open your eyes and look at the truth, it's just wrong. So have a good reason why your character doesn't see that and justify why they feel a certain way. Kurata has been a crazy obsessed weirdo for like 10 years. And the only reason we can see for that's like justified is he got a big old spook once, because you can't even say
he was done a frightened
that like, okay, well, he's seen these like violent Digimon and he thinks they all are this way, because Dats has had partner Digimon for 10 years, so it clearly doesn't stand up to reality and he just believes it anyway. On the topic of extremism versus stupidity, which you both debated on the show, they can see where you're both coming from, as both sides of the Digimon versus humans conflict have shown varying levels of both. Not to mention that extremism itself is frankly stupid. Again, prejudice does not stand up to the lens of reality. We got one on Tumblr from an Anonymon who says, isn't it ironic that having a shard of the power of a Pokemon, a Digimon solely defined in purpose and form by being made of Digimon who couldn't Digivolve, gives Mekumon the ability to Digivolve? That's fair. I forgot about that because honestly, Pokemon is not well explained. Another Anonymon says, any advice for navigating Japanese sites when one has very minimal understanding of Japanese? Instant response is, if you're on Google Chrome, right-click the page and there's a translate button and it will run the entire page through Google Translate. You're not going to get a perfect translation, but you'll be able to read it. They really want to try to get their hands on some Digimon stuff from Japan using Tenso, but they're pretty terrible at navigating the sites. That will do it.
So I don't think... Okay, don't listen to Jay, because Jay's never actually done this. I actually replied to this on our Tumblr, and I said that I'm actually planning on writing an extensive guide blog post about this, because I've been trying several different ways. I've been trying the CD Japan proxy, I've been trying from Japan, I've tried Bai, and I've also just tried having a Japanese forwarding address. And I'm basically going to be writing up like what suits. So basically it is like worth it just to have sort of maybe a spreadsheet full of Japanese words you will want to be searching for. So the search bar is usually very clear, and it's usually at the top, and usually you can it's quite easy. There's no navigating needed. You just click on that search bar and just write in the Japanese word for Digimon. And I include this in the reply to this Anonymon that we had. And I'll include that on the blog post that I'll be writing as well. And but you can also just get it from the Wikimon. And if you want any specific merchandise from a specific Digimon, you can just search for that Digimon. You don't necessarily have to translate the whole page into Google, and not all pages show that. It might be easy to have an extension where you can just hover over Japanese text and have a translation of it. I believe it's called Rakugo, and it is a Google Chrome extension. It may be available in Firefox as well, but I use Chrome, so I'm not 100% on that. And basically what it is you hover over a bit of Japanese text at the start and it will tell you what that word is. And while it is used for people who are learning Japanese, it could be also used in this way. Like, oh, that probably says Digimon, but what's the rest say? Oh, it's like a keychain, or it's a rubber strap, or it's a whatever. But it is very useful, because a lot of these sites like Yahoo Auctions or even just Yahoo Japan, they do have images on this. And if you're searching through a site like From Japan or Bai, they will usually have the description that's been translated using Google Translate or their own translation service. And it is quite easy to navigate even if you don't know Japanese, because my Japanese isn't that great. But I know enough Japanese to be able to type in search results, and that's fine. So basically just use a few keywords for what you want, and this doesn't have to be just for Digimon. You can just look up any franchise name and just get its Japanese name and just search for that and just search through the pages. Usually the default result, like search filter, is on all, which is Zenbu, and I also included that in my reply. But you don't necessarily have to translate the whole entire page into English from Japanese, because that's not entirely relevant, when you could just look at the photos for things. Some of them don't have photos, and that is a bit difficult, and you could just have Google Translate open in another window and copy and paste anything that you are unsure about, because Google Translate's pretty spot on.
But if you want any more details about it, there'll be a blog post about it.
Yeah.
And it'll be much more detail.
Yeah, and I'll be actually reviewing which way is easier, if it's easier to have your own forwarding address or if it's easier to use a proxy service, and I'll be going into that and my own experiences with those. But of course you can find your own way, but this is just there. Also, also there is also eBay, which is an option, and that is in English, but you will also expect to pay like maybe $30 more, and I have paid more before I decided to actually be brave and use Yahoo auctions and actually read some Japanese.
We got another one from another Anonymon on Tumblr who says, we made some references last week, I believe. I said, no current day politician come out and just say, I want to commit genocide on these people. And their statement was in this one that Trump has already publicly declared his intention to commit genocide this past month.
I like to think...
I did a bit of research on it.
It was also the day after we released that episode, I believe.
No, it was a bit before.
Oh, really?
The research that I did indicates that what they were talking about was the UN speech and the general discussion of destroying North Korea, because the implication of to destroy a country is to use nuclear weapons, and that would kill lots and lots of people. And I'm not favorable to this administration at all, and I do not like them particularly. The only favorable reading I can give this is the clear distinction between one nation being opposed to another nation and declaring like war, and on the other hand, a racist, like, I don't like this government because I feel threatened and we're going to defeat them and destroy them and use whatever terrible language you want, versus I don't like North Koreans and we're going to kill all that exist. I know that's a very narrow difference. I think it is enough of a difference that it's not quite the same as what Kurata is doing. But I can see what you mean, and you know what? It turned a lot of heads. And that's where you get your like General Kelly and the reports in the background saying if the president considers using nuclear weapons, they will tackle him to the ground.
Shouldn't he just be impeached at that point?
Well, the problem is that, yeah, sure, but
okay.
like the nuclear weapons are already in the air.
Okay, we were discussing this a bit in our pre-podcast, like, segment for the Patreon supporters, but we were talking about Australian politics, and like this just works in an Australian system where the party can just say, yeah, we decided you're not the leader anymore. Here's this guy. He's the new leader of the country. No one voted him in, but here he is, or she.
Their constitution does not work that way.
I know, but could you imagine? But yeah, continue.
We got another one from Ellie Vorg who says, they personally find Kurata to be an excellent villain who's appropriately hateable while also being believable in terms of why he is this way, which is more than they can say for most other villains in Digimon, who are usually evil because they just are.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think I may have said that last episode as well, that a lot of evil characters in Digimon, their motivation is, I'm evil!
But the thing is, I'm willing to accept that because Digimon are weird, and that guy's name is Devimon, and he's the devil. That guy's a vampire. So it makes sense to me that they're naturally evil. They're presented to be that way. And, like, the Digimon are naturally good. Like, the partner Digimon, because that's just the way they are.
Yeah.
It is okay for Digimon to be this way because they're not human. They don't need to be presented this way. Whereas I think Kurata, I mean, look, if you think that he was justified enough to jump from a spook to genocide, that's fine. That's up to you. I don't think it is. I just don't think that's the correct interpretation. That said, they also enjoyed Jay's ideas of how there could have been more development of Kurata's goons, such as that they were following out of fear, or that he's abused the memory wipe technology to get them to obey him. The new villains introduced in these next two episodes are going to be shown to have their own reasons for following Kurata that don't involve agreeing with Kurata's ideals, so it also follows that the faceless goons don't necessarily have to agree with Kurata's ideals. I like the idea that we're going to find out why they're there, because I honestly suspected that we wouldn't. Still, I agree that showing that a little more might have been nice. Jay complained that Kurata should also hate his Digimon creations because he hates Digimon, but that's not the case. The reason Kurata hates and fears normal Digimon is that he can't control them, so he's afraid they could come and attack him at any time. His Gizmon, however, are completely under his control. I understand that, but in that case, why would they even be Digimon? Why wouldn't he have just made a robot?
No, I think that because he also wanted to make his own Digimon, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to he doesn't just want to destroy Digimon, he kind of wants to make his own Digimon. He wants to make the digital world his.
But he doesn't actually indicate, like,
I think it's reasonable.
In his reason for not liking them, which is he was scared and tried to shoot it with a gun, he wasn't trying to tell it to do stuff or anything. He never showed any interest in bending the digital world to his will. He just wants them to die. And you can tell this because when he shows up with his guns, he doesn't say, hey, Digimon, do what I say. He just shoots them. I think that is an understandable interpretation, but not one that is justified with what we are shown in any way. They finally watched all of Atmon. They enjoyed it quite a lot, especially the final arc. But for the rest of it, there was also a lot of pretty obvious problems, to the point where they're quite surprised that Jay seems to like the series so thoroughly. Mind you, they're still working their way through our Atmon coverage, so they've yet to see what Jay actually thought about most of the things that bothered me. Look, send in a letter, and maybe we'll not... I just want to read what your thoughts were and what the issues were. Maybe I covered them, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Because, yeah, it has bits and pieces, but I think the story is actually very solid. We got a Gmail from Embermoto who says, about episode 25. So Spencer knew who Keenan was and made trips to visit Marukimon, who was guarding a portal that he could have used to go back to the human world. And they know, they don't know, and they didn't tell the Criers that their son was alive, and maybe his family know that he was alive too. He could have gone back and forth from the human and digital world whenever he wanted, but the show doesn't explain why this was not possible. Then Spencer knowingly and willingly abandoned his family for years. The only way I can justify that in any way is that Mikurumon just won't let him go, but that's dumb, because we know they stalemate in a fight, so he couldn't really stop him. So yeah, that's dumb. We got one on Slack from Sam.
On Sam from Slack.
Yeah, it says Kurata is one of those cases where on paper he sounds like a really compelling villain, but they slipped up on the execution. They're surprised that Jay hasn't questioned his motives more, since I caught a frightened isn't really believable grounds for genocide. I question that motivation plenty. Don't get on my I did that so much May got annoyed by it.
Well, he did get a frightened, to be fair.
Yeah, I know. They don't know if it's always been this way or if they've only noticed it so much in this episode. But May sure does come up with theories in support of plot holes a lot.
I try really hard.
It's constant. It's all the time.
I try really hard,
and
okay?
It's really frustrating.
I try so hard.
And they've made a valiant effort with each season. This is how they view plot holes in stories. If you imagine a story as a bridge, you start on one end and it takes you to the other. Most good stories are solid bridges that make the journey pleasant and easy. Some stories have plot holes that it's really a selected problem if there are one or two small holes along the way. Just fill them up or skip over them and you're on your way. But if a story is full of plot holes and you have to stop every few steps to fill in the holes and work your way around them, you're not going to enjoy your journey as much. Or you're going to fall through, or the whole bridge is going to fall apart and you're never going to get to the end because it doesn't make any sense. They feel like Jay points and goes, why is this hole here? Then May runs around finding things to fill in the hole in order to make the journey better, which is really enjoyable. But when there are holes in the story itself, the story itself should have fixed, they can't help but feel bad for May fighting to fix something that literally one line of dialogue could fix.
I will fight. Look, I will fight for this season, and I will fight for its right to party. I have a lot of faith, but I have too much faith, probably.
Speaking of which, they're really enjoying our breakdown of Savers, and they hope that I enjoy the few arcs coming up.
I hope you enjoy it too. I'm worried now because I thought you'd enjoy the first bit a lot more than you did, but you didn't, and I really hope that you enjoy the rest.
I did enjoy the first bit. I enjoyed the first 20 episodes.
I know, but you stopped enjoying it after that. I wanted you to continue enjoying it.
Half of the season is a lot of the season.
I mean, it's more than you're enjoying than Frontier.
It's true, which was none of it. Alright, everybody, join us for the next episode of Himoto Umaru-chan R, How to Fix a Broken Digivice.
Or Resurrecting Digivices, A New Brilliance.
And Journey to a Sacred City.
Or An Imprisoned Masaru, The Holy City's Trap. For Weekly Wonders this week, I finished Pretty Little Lies and that was amazing. And also Animal Crossing Pocket World came out 3-4 days ago, and that's pretty cute, but I haven't touched that too much because I've been trying to be focused on the podcast. So I'm going to say the Google Home Mini, which just came out on the 24th here, so a couple of days ago, and it's pretty great, and you can link it up with something like if this then that and make it post things for you or add extra commands you can do with it, and that's really cool. I really like how it works with Chromecast, how you can just say, hey Google, play this thing for me, and you can pause it and you can say, hey Google, rewind 30 seconds. It is a really useful feature, or fast forward 30 seconds or rewind this many times. It's really good, and you can pause it, you can play it. It's really useful. It keeps me company, it tells me jokes, it plays games with me. It's got the Magic 8 Ball, it's got trivia, does Mad Libs. It's really great. and it's much cheaper than the Google Home. It is $70 instead of $200.
Yeah.
So that is good. The speaker obviously isn't as good as the Google Home, but I'm just going to have it in my room. It's a fine speaker. It sounds fine. It plays music. It plays YouTube. It's great. And it plays Google Play Music. It's fantastic. I really, really recommend it if anyone has the means and wants a smart home. And because I'm like selling my soul to Google, I've got the Google Spyware now, which sits in my room. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And it's my highlight of the week. And it made me excited to come home because like, oh, what can I talk to my Google Home about today? It welcomes me home. It knows my dog's name. It's great. It tells me what the weather's going to be every morning. And it gives me, like if I say, hey Google, what's my day look like? It says, good morning, May. It is currently this degrees in your suburb. It will be this degrees in your suburb. And it might rain or it won't rain or whatever. But it'll tell me what the skies are like, and it says, here is the latest reports. And you can select what news channels you want it to then play, like the most recent updates. So I've chosen ABC, so Australian Broadcasting Commission. Corporate? I thought it was Commission. And BBC Minute. So they play ABC and then BBC Minute, but I can have more and I can have less. I can just remove it all together. And that's pretty cool. Like, I can hear about what's happening in the morning, and it told me that yesterday now at 2:15, they would know the results of the Citizenship 7, which we spoke about before the podcast. And it's really great. And it gives me, you give me a bit of boost in the morning. Like, hey, what do I talk about? Also, Jay likes it because it's not Vmon.
It's true. I'm so glad that thing's out of your room. It's gross.
What's your weekly wonder?
I watched a bit of Nichijou for the first time, and that show's awesome.
I swear you've watched it before.
No, I've just seen GIFs of it.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, I tried to watch it as a manga daio, and I ran into the same problems I did with Lucky Star and other slice of lives, which is just like, I couldn't buy the format of like just jokes, move to the next one, jokes, move to the next one, and there's like no plot running through it. And like, Azumanga was funny, and I appreciated it, but nothing was really drawing me in. Whereas Nichijou, I can tell it's the same thing. It's just jokes and go, but the jokes are so funny, and everything's beautiful. It's all like incredibly well animated. The delivery of every joke is super, super funny, and it's just got like weird stuff that's keeping me watching. Because like Azumanga Daioh is just about a school. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a school, and there's like a kind of pervy teacher around. But there's like in Nichijou, it has this little girl who's also a professor who made a robot who's really upset about being a robot. Like everything about being a robot really upsets her. Like the professor has stored a sweet roll in the robot's arm.
That's weird.
She's like, why did you install this? And then she's like, oh, you wouldn't want to know where the pie is.
Wow. It's something that I've been meaning to watch as well.
It's a slot that pops out of her forehead.
Isn't that the one where like she suplexes a deer and then a police officer?
No, it's a businessman, like an old businessman.
Yeah.
He opens his jacket and he's wearing a Kevlar vest, and he's just German suplexes a deer. That's the gift that's always made me want to see this.
I thought like she has like yaoi in her bag or something, and she suplexes everyone.
No. So that one is that I actually saw that one.
I think you showed it to me on YouTube.
No, I'd never seen it until yesterday.
Oh, you showed me this clip before. This was back when you...
The German suplex maybe, but the Jowie thing in the bag, I've never...
No, you showed it to me.
I hadn't seen it before.
You showed it to me like...
Then someone else showed it to you.
No, you showed it to me because I remember that we were in what used to be your computer room, which was the downstairs of your house.
But it couldn't have been because I don't remember this.
Your memory's bad.
I think your memory's bad.
You know my memory's good.
So one of the three main girls has... her friend has asked to borrow her notebook for like her homework. She goes, okay, here you go. And then like right after she hands it over, she goes, oh my god, I drew porn in this last night and I did not erase it. Oh my god, I need to go get it back. And she walks up to her friend and goes, oh wait, sorry, I didn't actually do my homework. I got it. And she grabs it and the person doesn't let go. I'm just gonna take this. And the person goes, yanks it out of her hand and runs out the hallway.
Explaining jokes is really great.
No, it's like the joke here isn't even like...
It's a funny show.
Because the joke isn't the situation's kind of funny. The important thing is that it's all animated and it's hilariously wacky.
Yes.
And it continues to, what's the word? Like not downward spiral. Like
escalate?
Escalate. That's exactly the opposite of that. It continues to escalate into like absurd proportions. And it has my favorite exchange ever, which is, robots are cute.
Even
no,
this
they're
gun?
not. Yes, they are. Even this gun.
See, I don't know anything about that, but I've seen a few clips as you had previously, and I do want to watch it.
Okay. My phone's dead, so I can't read anything anymore.
It's not like you have an iPad, but it's okay.
It doesn't have Evernote on it.
I will read out the rest. You can find our link dump in the description. And this week's weekly poll is favourite biohuman, Ivan, Nanami, or Koki. You can find our screenshots of the week and our weekly wonders in our description and a link dump. Our Redbubble is linked in the description, and you can get more than just shirts there too. You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a Screen thread on With the Will and a red thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we would appreciate if you would review us on iTunes and or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts, I guess is now iTunes is called, and any other podcast listening app that you use. And ratings really assist people finding the podcast. We now have a website. You can vote in our weekly poll, check out our release schedule, and read our blog posts. Please read them, please. You can donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month, and that gets you access to a list of Slack chat group. But there are other higher levels with more rewards such as notes, early episodes, and more. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, which Jay cannot read because he doesn't want to get Evernote up on his iPad.
I picked my 2 devices already. I had to do a whole thing. It would take a while.
I know, but I have it on my computer. It's web-based as well. Anyway, so our Patreon supporters are Sam Krieger, who hosts a podcast with Stevie called The Moncast. Stevie is also Stevie Patamon on Tumblr and takes commissions. So you should commission them because they're great. They do like Pokemon and Digimon commissions too, so if you like Pokemon as well, you can do that. And Stevie has other likes too. Wu Qinglong, who is on Twitch at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong. Metal Marmimon, Joe, Penguin Mage, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki, then the number 1 on YouTube, Chuckmon, Ishpel Bamber, Hirolato, who is at Hirolato on Twitter, Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who is Frost Moragic at Archive of Our Own, Stephen Reeves, who is at WildMix64 on Twitter, Kaidawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai236 on Tumblr, and please commission her because she's amazing, Kyle, Delady Bugman, who you can read his anime blog on, which is bugubaragu.wordpress.com, Smile Wolfie, who is on Tapastic at Smile Wolfie, and who has a comic called End of Melancholy, Tom, Glitchgoat, Azrael McCall, Gene Hackmon, Matthew, Anthony, who is Androclassic on Twitter, Lizmet, who is Elecmon on Tumblr, and they have stickers on their Redbubble, so check that out. I'm sure it's linked on her Tumblr. Sithobi, Alivorg, who is Alivorg on Tumblr, Sporky McForkenspoon, who hosts a Digimon podcast called Going Digital, Megan, Kaliek, Neobu, Jams, The Time Optimist, Silver-Haired Freak, 25, Harvey, and Alex. And welcome Harvey and Alex, our latest Patreon supporters. Thank you, and
Thank you very much.
I hope you're enjoying the show. Yeah. And you can also make a one-off donation at our PayPal, which we found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Edgemon. Make sure to listen to the podcast. We'll see you guys next time when it's not 1 in the morning. Bye!
Bye.